Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to MTGO Masters Season 2, the finale. We are in the top 4. It is the best show with the best guests, with questionably the best hosts. And my name is Will Hall, better known on the internet as Will Hall EXP. And I am joined by that beautiful man there, right there. It looks like he's done his hair. It's Anurag Das. How you doing, my friend?
I'm so excited for basically the most important episode of the season, right? We started with 16 players. We're down to our final 4. And over the course of the next 4 games matches, we're going to be crowning our season 2 champion. Now, there's a certain storyline that I'm personally very excited about. Our season 1 champion, Arya Karamchandani, is battling today. And I mean, all eyes are going to be on her to see if she can run the back-to-back, to see if she can become the 2-time MTGO Masters champion. It's going to be pretty hype weekend. I'm going to be honest with you.
There's only one thing that sounds better than champion is a 2-time champion, right? It's going to be good, but a lot of people are going to be standing in their way trying to stop it and get themselves that title. But let's start how we always do. If people are just tuning in now, this is the finals. How did we get to this point? What is MTGO Masters?
Yeah, so MTGO Masters is basically a celebrity all-star brawl where you take 16 of some of the best players and some of the best creators in the space, and over the course of 12 weeks, we just have all of them play rounds out over, various I guess like themes and stipulations is what we've done this season. And now, we are down, like I said, to the top 4 of our event. We'll take a look at real quick the pod structure here to sort of give you an idea of what we did. So we started with our first 4 rounds, just like the intro, the warm-up style. Then we moved into our winners and losers brackets, followed by our last chance pods. Last week was our top 8. And now we have 4 more matches to go through. It's going to be exciting. Can we just jump into the matches right now?
Oh, dude, I'm looking forward to it. And because we've got some spice tonight. But you'll wait a little bit more, ladies and gentlemen, until we get to that point in the show. I need to tell you how we worked from 16 players down to the final 4 over the past 11 weeks. We did it with the rule of 2. You had to win 2 games before you lose 2 games. You had to win 2 pods before you lose 2 pods. And we did this over the course of 10 weeks until we managed to get to last week and our top 8. For some players managed to do this the easy way, just 1-2 pods back to back. Other players, they had to go the longer route. They had to go for over 3 pods to get to the point they are at now. And that gives them a slight disadvantage because we've had restrictions all the way through the show. And you talk me through the restrictions that we had in the first 6 weeks and what restrictions are people hitting on their deck list this week in the finals.
Yeah, great question, great follow there. So basically, with this show, one of my goals was to sort of display the infinite number of ways you could play Modern. I mean, Modern is has a very vast card pool all the way back to like 8th edition, and there's just a lot of really cool decks out there. So what we did from week 1 to week 6 is we had a bunch of themes per week. We went through, the Modern Horizon 3 Planeswalkers. We went through the Modern Horizon 3 Flare Cycle. We even had a no ban list week. And after week 6, we said, okay, well, now everyone's backs are against the walls. We need to basically give you one final set of stipulations. And that is, if you submit a deck, let's say, Will's like, hey, you know what? I really like this Glistener Elf card. Don't know why, but
pretty good.
Will, if he wins, the next time he shows up, is not allowed to play a single card that he played last week, except for basic lands. You can register as many basics as you want. What does that mean? That means that we've had some crazy deck lists from week to week to week, including Infect. We've seen Martin Yuza on Hollow One. We've seen, various decisions, whether or not you should play the One Ring this weekend, whether you want to save it for a later weekend. I know, some of the players here, they gave their thoughts on how they wanted to approach this, and we're actually going to explore that a little bit more later today.
Yeah, I'm actually, as you were speaking about that, I was like, ooh, how many people actually bought the One Ring this week? I'm still having a little look through that. So that's going to be an interesting one to see how they did build their decks. But for this week, for the finals, for the top 4, we told them they need to build 2 decks. And how this is going to work, how they're going to decide on what decks they play throughout this evening is they get to pick. In the past, it was that you get to ban one of your opponent's decks that you do not want to play against. This time around, in the top 4, they will pick the deck that they want to play. But if, say, I play my Infect deck for my first game, I cannot use it in my second game. And that second game could be in the finals. It could be battling out for 3rd place. So it's a bit of strategy on how you're going to pick which deck and against which opponent and who you're hoping the tiebreakers plan out against. So that's how it's going to roll. But we did start with those 16 players that we spoke about, and we've whittled it down to the final 4. So let's have a look which 4 players we have got battling out this week and potentially going to be calling themselves champion of Season 2 of MTGO Masters. Talk me through it, Anu.
Yeah, so starting from the left to the right, we have Pro Tour champion Alexander Hayne, our Season 1 champion Arya Karamchandani from Team Play Design. We've got Mason Clark. Mason, you're going to tell me what sort of title you want after this. And then we have Arne Hushenbeth, who is also a set champion as well. This pod is stacked. I mean, honestly, like every week, I feel like I've said this over and over again, but it's like the pod of death. You know, you walk into a bar and you just see a bunch of killers. Like that's what this is right here, right? And they've all come to game, especially when we get to it. Haynes brought a pretty spicy deck that I want to talk about as well. But yeah, this is exciting, and it's going to be some pretty high intense action later tonight.
Well, let's just get to it. Let's get to our segment that still has no name, where we don't get to talk to all tonight's players and ask them a couple of questions. So, like magic, let's move straight across to that. And just like that, everybody's on the screen. So first off, congrats, everybody. We've made it week number 12 in the top 4. If anything, that's a tick in its box by itself. But we can always go that one extra bit, right? We can go back-to-back champions. And go starting with you, Arya. What is it going to mean if you manage to take down this week and go back-to-back? How is that tweet going to look?
Well, you know, at the end of the first season, we got this like avatar with the card we wanted, like a custom avatar on MTGO with a card of any card that isn't already on an avatar. And like when I was choosing that one, I had like a few pretty good second and third choices. So getting another one of those would be nice.
Which one would you use, though? You know what I mean? That's maybe one swap them around each week. It'll be pretty interesting to see. Mason, what's it going to mean if you're able to take this down, this whole tournament? 16 absolute killers started, but can only end with 1. If that is you, how's it going to feel?
It's going to feel great. I mean, I used to watch, other iterations of shows like this that, used to go on, and it was really fun to watch those, and getting to play this has been a blast, and playing, some of the early iterations as well. And it would be nice to win one, and I'm just here to game. I love playing Magic, and I love playing against strong players, and that's all we have today. So I'm just so excited to game.
That is the main focus of the show, right? Is we just want to see it from both sides, not just the gameplay, but we're also going to hear your thoughts in the booth. So, Alex, you know what I mean? Pro Tour champion, MTGO Masters Season 2 champion. Which one are we going to go with? What would it mean for you to be able to take this and add this to this super long resume that you already have?
It'd be nice, I guess. I'm a follower of Stoicism, which says that nothing external can affect you, only internal things. But there are still preferred outcomes and unpreferred outcomes. And for my long Magic career, I found that winning the tournament is the preferred outcome. And so yeah, I'd rather do that.
I would also rather do that. It just doesn't work very well for me when I try to do that. That's all. But talking about, winning and having a great year, Arnie, you actually had an absolutely amazing year. We spoke a little bit before the show went live, where you just missed out on, being able to play in Worlds last year. You're now playing in Worlds in only next month. That you a couple of people tonight are also playing in. If you could take this down, that's going to set you up really well for next month. Confidence at an all-time high. You've joined one of the best teams. How's it going to feel? What have I said?
I just love the idea of Arnie's opponent at Worlds like, God, the MTGO
of course he will.
champion.
Well. I will not take this talk from here.
I love the slump in his chair too, because that's literally what I would do too. I am just saying, hey.
Hey, look, we've got Pro Tour champions in this season. We've got World champions in this season. If you're able to take this down in a small pot, that's a good achievement.
Yeah, exactly.
You are. Don't worry about these haters. They're just scared. They're just scared.
If I'm Arnie's World's opponent and he wins this thing, then I'll be shaken.
There you go. Round 1 of that draft is going to be scary.
Hold tight.
You should put it on your playmat, Anna, if you win.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a little playmat made for you, so we'll work on that. But what's it going to mean if you ever take this down and add it to this amazing year you've had so far?
Yeah, no, it's been truly an amazing year. Apologies in advance about my sound quality. I'm on holidays and I don't have my usual setup. I love competition. I love playing for something. I love playing against very strong players, and that definitely has been the case here. I've just been really enjoying this ride. And as Alex said, I suppose their preferred outcomes, and I definitely have my goal set today.
Great. Next question.
Yeah, I mean, I want to just follow through with that. You know, we've had 12. I mean, this is our 12th week, but we've had 11. You know, long battles going on back and forth, and a lot of iconic moments here. And I think you know, just a little bit of me being the emotional, sentimental person that I am. You know, actually, I'm going to change it up a little bit. Will, I'm going to start with you. Do you have an iconic or favorite moment?
Martin played in fact and won the pod.
Okay, yeah, you had that one figured out already. Well, we're gonna keep going around. Arya, any iconic moments for you that really just stood out that you were just like, wow, this is some crazy stuff happening right now?
I had a lot of fun with some of my absurd draws in the no ban list Modern week. It's not a format I often get to play, and winning on turn 1, turn 2 is always a good feeling.
Exciting. Mason, how about you?
I really liked the round where I made top 8. I thought for sure I was dead that week. I like looked at all the deck lists. I was like, I have no good matchups or whatever. And then, you know, just had some lucky draws, played kind of tight, and it was just fun. And just had fun interacting with everyone each week. So
love it. Love to hear it. Hayne, how about you?
Oh, well, normally I'm busy playing in this, but I got to watch a little bit of last week in the top 8. I got to watch Canister versus Arne's match, which was quite a delight. And I think that was my personal highlight to watch Canister go off with the Neo form and then just brick off with 10 cards left in his library, 3 of them Nourishing Shoals or whatever. It was, you know, it was something that happens to everybody every once in a while, but it's fun to see on camera. So that would be mine.
Yeah, the punchline that Will had was like, well, Arne has cast one spell this entire match and has won in less than 5 turns total, which is like, to me, the most obscene thing I've heard, just period. Like, I remember there was a silence, but then Canister had drawn the pack. It was that. You're right. That's a crazy moment. All right, Arne, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, Alex took it away there. Well, that was obviously the most crazy moment for me. I mean, I still don't understand and can't comprehend how he actually like wins with the deck. I still don't get it. I wanted to kind of at least like give him one game so I could see it out of curiosity. It's okay. I guess I'll take the win. But yeah, otherwise the most fun week for sure was the no ban list one, because it's just such an unusual magic, and just yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, we had a lot of feedback about that, right? A lot of players wish that was the week that they got to play, and they were like, oh, I wish I got to play in the no ban this one. And it's just, you know, maybe that's an idea for the future. And just put that in the old notebook.
I just realized 3 of us from that pod are here. It was Arya, Arnie, me, and I think Ben Wheeler was the 4th.
Yep.
Yeah, and actually, I was originally supposed to be the 4th, but Ben couldn't play that next week, so
we can't make the script that obvious, guys. Come on,
you're giving away all the secrets, guys. You're giving away the secrets. Okay. Right, well, on that one, we're going to get down to the matches. We need to start getting this stuff going. So we're going to head back to the booth. We're going to set you all up, and we'll be seeing you all momentarily. But as always, this has been an amazing show, amazing run, 12 weeks long, but we had a lot of help along the way, and the biggest of the helps was from our sponsors. So talk to me about our first sponsor.
Yeah, our first sponsor is Daybreak Games. They're the ones who have been making this entire production possible. So if you enjoy the content that you've been watching from week to week to week, if you're at the edge of your seats, or if you're rooting for your friends here, you know, thank you, Daybreak Games. Thank you for the Magic Online team. Speaking of, we're going into week number 8, the final week of the feeder leagues here for the Magic Online Vintage Cube Live, powered by Ultimate Guard. So this, if you're wondering what it is how you basically go to MagicCon Vegas with a paid flight, and you get to draft a Black Lotus that you get to keep. And the words that I'm saying out of my mouth, they're all real. You can find out more information at mtgo.com. But for people who have been following the event, the circuit, and everything like that, Saturday, September 21st, 9 a.m. is when the feeder leagues will open again, so you can get your qualification tokens. But beyond that, there's also the flashback drafts for Modern Horizons 2, which are up now. I think I would double check the date on that. Yeah, perfect. They're available now, and you can play them until Tuesday, September 24th. So Modern Horizons 2, I think, is one of every time I've heard someone talk about it, you know, I personally am not good at drafting, but everyone's like, the set was amazing to draft.
So good. So good.
Yeah. Any favorite archetypes that you have?
Yeah, the modular. Used to love drafting the modular deck in this. They're sick.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, you can sign in right now and play today. Lastly, let's say, you're looking at the Magic Online, Vintage Cube Live thing, and you're like, well, I can't actually make it to MagicCon Vegas this week. That's okay, because Vintage Cube here in and of itself is there, and the homie's there too, and it's going to be there until September 24th. So be sure to play while it's available. One more week left before it goes on break, before another refresh. Thank you, Daybreak Games, for making this season incredible.
Right, come on. I'm going to set you up. Cue me some sort of pun or something to do with this big rabbit that I'm seeing on my screen.
Oh, actually, no. I mean, at this point, it's not even a joke anymore. That's me. We're friends. We're homies.
I heard your
I've got
cosplay.
my Jack Rabbit tattoo scheduled for. Just kidding. No. I've already fallen for this once. I'm not doing it again. Shorts is enough. I swear.
I wasn't going to mention the shorts just yet. I was going to bring up what's the sub goal we need to get you to cosplay this at Vegas? Just walking around as a huge jacked rabbit.
Sub goal?
Let's go. Okay. Our next sponsor is none other than Moxfield. Moxfield is the best place to upload your deck list to and to find all decks from all recent events. !deck list in the chat. We'll bring up all the tonight's decks. So maybe you want to check out the ones they bought tonight, last week, last season. This is the only place that you will find it. Huge shout out to Moxfield. They've been such a good support of this show, and we've got nothing but great things to say about them. So really hope we get to work with them again in the future. Next sponsor, Ernie.
It's Heavy Play. So if you're interested in card game accessories, Heavy Play is basically the future of everything that you would ever need for your deck boxes, your dice, your sleeves, your play mats. Their Equip Mag system is basically it's like next gen stuff, right? And so they're pushing the boundaries, and it's only going to get better from here. If you're interested in getting a sample of the product, go to heavyplay.com. You can use that code on screen, MTGO Masters, for 10% off your order. I love Heavy Play. Thank you, Heavy Play, for sponsoring the stream, and we appreciate it a lot.
I was just Googling to try and get some Power Ranger facts, and it turns out the Green Ranger is the strongest Power Ranger of all time. You now know.
Of all time?
Of all time. That's what Google says, and Google doesn't lie. So
I remember there was a trailer, like a fan trailer, that had Tommy as an evil Green Ranger, and apparently there's a Power Ranger comic or something like that. Anyways, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it was really cool.
This is the point where I ask you who is taking tonight down, because we've got some spicy decks tonight. Some are pretty stable, pretty tier one. We came wanting to win, but there is a couple of floating around, which I know there's one you've got your eye on tonight.
Yeah. So I will say it. She did it once. She's gonna do it again. Okay. However, if Arya doesn't take down the whole event like she did last season, I mean, I gotta root for Lantern Control, man. Come on. I know, Lantern Control, but I saw the deck list and I was like, hey, you are absolutely insane. And I once he comes back on, we got to figure out how he came to this conclusion. But it looks like it could be really good this week.
It could be. We can see Lantern Control taking this season down, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. But we've seen crazier things. We've seen Enfex was able to take down a pod 1 week. Are we going to see this deck just coming back from the past, being able to tear it up? I know Mason was a huge fan when he saw that. Apparently, that's one of his favorite decks of all time as well. But I'm gonna throw it out here. If you make a prediction right now, so you can stick with Arya or you can change. The chat might hate me for this. If you get it right, you're off the hook. You don't have to eat no pants. If you get it wrong, though, it's double or nothing. You got to eat two sets of pants. Look, you're in. You might as well go deeper if you can. You know what I mean? I'm giving you an out. Are you taking it or not? What are we doing?
I don't back down from a challenge. All right. Locking in here. Arya's the one who put me in this position, and she's the one who's going to get me out. Let's go to the moon. All
right. You said it here for us in the first chat. Someone clip it, get that as proof, and we're going to move down to our first match, where we're going to have Arya taking on Arnie, which means we're going to have Mason and we're going to have Alex in the booth. So over to you two gents.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to MTGO Masters Season 2 semifinals, final week. I'm Mason Clark, and my co-host Alexander Hain. And Alex, we're going to have an awesome match this round. I'm really excited to watch.
Oh, me too. I mean, Arya's gone undefeated in last MTGO Masters and this one, right? So we'll see. Arne though on a huge tear this year, and maybe he'll be the one who can stop her.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. I don't know if not Arnie, it has to be one of us. Let's be real. We got to stop Arya. You know, it's like Thanos. We have the Avengers coming together. I'm the Hawkeye of the team. Let's do it. You know, let's take it down.
Well, I would say Bolus versus the Gatewatch or whatever, but
I don't think I've ever heard of that. Anyways, let's head down to our feature match area and see what's going on there. And welcome to the semifinals of MTGO Masters Season 2. We have Arya Kamchandani on the bottom with Boris Energy and Arnie Hersenbauch on the top with Demir Murktide. And Hayne, who do you like in this matchup?
I think I like the slight edge to the Demir Murktide deck, actually. You know, I think, especially looking at these hands, we see like the Bowmasters, Deluge, and Psychic Frog in the opener. Hard to argue against that.
Yeah, it does look like Arya also took a mulligan and kept kind of a land heavier hand with some cards that don't line up well against what Arnie's doing. So we'll have to see if this is going to be enough to take Arya down. But, you know, Arya is playing sort of the default, quote unquote, best deck in Modern. So we're going to see if it can, you know, carry her the distance.
Yeah, definitely Boros is kind of the deck to beat right now, which, you know, I think has shaped a lot of people's decisions. You know, the thing is, like, yeah, like you said, these particular hands, especially the Bowmaster, matches up so well against Ocelot, right? The Frog also just can be pretty tough to deal with when you're trying to use red removal.
Agreed. Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I do like about the energy deck being the de facto deck to beat, right? Like, it is a pile of creatures and removal spells, and those things are attackable, and you can kind of tune your deck in theory to help it. And we see Bowmaster be a card that could have been good here, but Arya decided to take this time and develop the Psychic Frog, and now Arya is in a really interesting position because she has the Bolt, she has the Ocelot Pride, and she has to figure out how she's going to play this turn out.
Yeah, I mean, if Arya had one fewer card in hand, then potentially attacking with Ocelot Pride and throwing a Lightning Bolt if Arya blocked would be an option. But since it isn't, you know, just play the Ajani, pass the turn. I actually think you could attack with the Ocelot Pride because it's a cat and would trigger Ajani flipping, which I think is something pretty difficult for the Demir Murktide deck to answer.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a line. I also think, like, will Arnie actually discard his whole hand for the Frog is another question to ask too, which I'm sure Arya thought about. Like, is it worth to throw away these two cards to make Arnie go all in on the Frog? And if we had seen something like Static Prison, that could have been her play. But instead, we pass back. Arnie misses the land drop, picks up another Fatal Push, and now has to figure out how he wants to navigate this because he has a lot of good tools, but a little light on mana. And notably, too, with one of those DFC lands from H3, is stuck on blue, so can't deploy double push as a potential line.
Yeah, the lack of a third land, and especially the lack of the second black source, pretty big deal here. I don't really think in Arnie's spot you can kind of just pass and not do anything. Probably stuck using this Fatal Push here to answer the Ajani, which leads to me thinking that you maybe want to attack, you know, try and get Arya to block with the cat while you can. Of course, the danger is that then Ocelot probably gets to attack you back. So kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here. And despite how the opening hands looked, this is looking pretty good for Arya.
Yeah, I have to agree. When you're in spots like Arnie's, Hayne, how do you figure out, like, what are you supposed to do? Like, you mentioned you feel like you have to attack. You have to use your mana, excuse me. Like, how do you discern that?
Well, you kind of have to evaluate, like, if the current status quo continues for a while, like, is that going to benefit you or harm you? And here, if you're, you know, Arne, you know, obviously Psychic Frog gets better as you get to draw more cards right from hitting, but so does the Ocelot Pride. And since Arne doesn't really have the ability to answer that without answering a Johnny, kind of stuck having to pass here.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, we see the pass, and Arya picks up another land, a little bit of flooding out right now. which Arnie doesn't know about and probably thinks, "Dang, I'm in a bad spot with Arya having a bunch of spells in hand." We're gonna see an attack.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot, especially a play available for Arya here is if Arne does go for the fatal push on Ajani, Arya can lightning bolt her own creature to transform the Ajani and thereby fizzle the fatal push. So a lot of interesting options, and it's really close here. I mean, Arne had the option of fatal pushing the Ajani on his turn to kind of avoid that possibility.
Yeah, and we see Arnie block the Ocelot Pride. First strike damage happened, and then before normal damage, Arya is looking to bolt this Psychic Frog and make Arnie have to choose between, 4 more cards out of hand, excuse me, or the Frog.
Yeah, so in Arne's spot, I think, because he has this Toxic Deluge, it's an interesting decision. I think without the Toxic Deluge, you kind of go all in on the Frog here, fatal push the Ajani, you have a big Frog, and in theory, Arya doesn't have much of a board. But because you have this Toxic Deluge, maybe you decide that you want to let the Frog go, that you're just going to hope to draw a land and then deluge away everything.
It is interesting too, right? Because if you end up saving the Frog, the Ajani will flip as well. So it's kind of like if you're going to save the Frog, you have to go all in on this. There is nothing else you can do. Which is, it's a tough spot to be in. Looks like Arnie's at least going to kill the Ajani, get that out of the way.
Yeah, and I think that to me indicates Arnie's made a decision that he's going to keep the Frog around.
Yep.
Yeah, we see Fatal Push discarded, so Arnie's going to get to keep 1 card in hand, and presumably, the Toxic Deluge is going to go because you don't want to deluge usually if you have a creature, though you can pay a low amount of life if you have a big Frog.
Yeah, I'm seeing Arnie keep Spell Snare. Makes sense as not only his play that he can make this turn, but a follow-up Ajani could be a very devastating thing for this all-in Frog plan. But as we know, Arya just has an Ocelot Pride and probably a Surveilling at the end of Arnie's turn as this Ocelot Pride will trigger from life being gained off the first.
Ooh, but that Bowmaster's really big draw for Arne because the way the board was staying, we're kind of the Frog versus Ocelot, balance of you can attack with your Frog, draw a card, but then you allow Arya to kind of build up more of a board. But the Bowmasters can kill the Pride and kind of free up the Frog to attack without scary ramifications.
Yep. And we see that Arnie is going to even give the Frog flying to guarantee that card draw. Wants to restock back up. And that's one of these nice things about Psychic Frog. It keeps the power and then applies a ton of pressure and gets you the cards back. So, it requires going all in early, but he does pay you back as we are seeing an attack for 4. Arya is going to fall to 16 unless Arya wants to discard more cards, but it's a little unlikely. Counterspell is the pickup for Arnie. That's a good card.
Yeah, it's good, but I feel like Arne's probably. I guess in Arne's spot, he could take the hit from the Ocelot Pride this turn to hold up the counterspell now. Arya will get 1 more token, but that's not that big a deal compared to potentially being able to counter something really important this turn. And then you can on end step use the Bowmasters if nothing important happens. So
Arnie's an interesting spot with Blood Moon, right? Arya's been fetching she has it and her deck does play, I believe, 3. So he's got to respect that a little. And we're seeing him do it where he's just taking the damage from the cats.
Yeah, I mean, even the Static Prison is something that in Arne's spot you really want to be able to counter. Because you're kind of, as we said, you're all in on this Frog. You don't have many other resources. You don't have that many cards in hand. You don't have many lands. You really need to protect the queen, as it were.
And we do see that happen. Arya goes to Static Prison. Shocks and Sacred Foundry is going to pick up Gigantha. And make a cat token and pass back to Arnie, who draws another counter spell. Not the land, maybe wanted, but not the worst card in the world to have, and has to decide, does he want to attack again or hold back his Psychic Frog?
Yeah, it's again an interesting spot. You have to consider now also that Arya is very close to having the city's blessing, right? Another land will make the total number of permanents 9, and then the trigger would get up to 10. So you can't really make the same play of just holding up counterspell again, because I think the cost is too high in terms of the board state. Though there are spots where you decide that you can just kind of try and kill Arya over like 2 turns with this frog as well.
Yeah, that's true.
You discard 2 cards, it gets to 6 power. You give it flying, and then next turn you'll have the card you draw from the frog and the card you draw for turn to give it 8 power. You're 1 short there because the Oslo Pride gains 1 life. But if without that, I think it would be a pretty nice play to basically have a counterspell plus representing lethal.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages of this deck. And Arya draws a Johnny, but Arnie's had that spell set for forever, is excited to finally get some value off of it. And now we know all Arya Arnie, and we all know Arya only has Giganta in hand and plays a land and passes the turn as Arnie picks up another non-land with Force of Negation.
Yeah, I think this Force of Negation, though, is actually pretty nice because Arnie's not really that scared of Giganta. It doesn't really do that much here versus, a frog that's going to easily be bigger than it. The scary thing is, like you said, kind of something like Blood Moon, or really a way to kill the frog. And I think now it kind of allows Arne to deploy this Orcish Bowmasters, answer the Pride. Even, just a token chump blocking Gigantha for a turn also is just perfectly fine. And kind of Arne could take an aggressive posture again.
I have to agree. And I think, too, it creates like an interesting spot where, Arya, I guess, doesn't have another surveil land, but Fallage was a card she maybe could have surveilled away and had, but draws Static Prison. Powerful card against this Psychic Frog. But like you mentioned, that Force Negation, very timely, going to allow Arya to find it over as Orcish Bowmaster comes down. I have to imagine that's going to shoot Ocelot Pride. And then, it's going down. And we're going to see, do we want to take both? Do we want to hold back a token made for Giganta? It looks like we're going to just let our Bowmaster live in case Arya has the 1 ring. We can shoot down some other stuff. And you talked about, that pressure that Arnie can put on. And I have to add this Force Negation pitch here. We're really close to lethal with Counterspell up.
Yeah, because Arne, again, knows that Giganta's Arya's last card, keeping the Counterspell for whatever Arya draws next turn. And puts Arya dead to the frog and flying. So this is basically checkmark for Arne. The only thing is, I think, if Arya finds a surveil land, puts Flage in the graveyard, and then draws a relevant 1 mana spell for her turn, that's another Static Prison.
Yeah, I think it has to be 3rd prison where you're dead. But it is.
And mill Flage, so it's kind of a
tall order, but it gave some outs, show kind of why this Boros deck can be so good, even with sort of what seemed like an anemic start. But time for the sideboarding, as we see, Arya immediately starts swapping cards. Arnie's going to take a second. I know you played this deck last week in our top 8, the Dimir Murktide. How do you kind of like to play against these Boros Energy decks in theory?
I kind of like it. I think it's slightly favorable. I mean, it's a very close matchup. I played both sides of it. I played the week before. I played Boros against the Murktide deck. So I think there's a lot of maneuvering that can be done. I think you have to identify what are the important threats. Things like Blood Moon can be pretty devastating, but they have to be played before the Murktide player can get, let's say, a big frog going or a Murktide region. I do think that kind of becoming a little grindier. I like, Arya not having Ragavans in her deck at this moment. That's a card that, gets nabbed by Bow Masters, and just doesn't attack through Frog, and a lot of the cards you hit aren't that good to hit. But it is a card that you could consider having on the play. On the draw, it definitely needs to be out. The question is, what are you really replacing it with? And I think it's a little bit of a game from that perspective of how you want to board your deck. From the blue-black perspective, I think you just bring all your removal spells in. We see Arne shaving a Murktide Regent. That seems reasonable to me. You really kind of want to have one threat and protect it.
That makes sense, yeah. Sort of play that classic Delver game that we've seen be so powerful in Eternal formats of old, now making its way into Modern. And these players are ready for game number 2, so we're going to have to see what their hands look like. But looks like Ario is maybe considering Reprieve, too, as kind of a spicy card from the sideboard, a one-of that can be kind of good in combo matchups, and could be really strong against a card like Murktide. Decide not to go with it, and has a very efficient start here with just, 2 threats, 2 creatures, 3 land. Or sorry, 2 answers, 2 threats, 3 lands.
Yeah, this hand looks great, and the double Ocelot Pride hands can get out of control really fast if they're not answered, or if Arne doesn't have a sweeper. And looking at Arne's hand, it seems like a perfectly fine hand, but notably, there's no Fatal Push, there's no Toxic Deluge, and this Ocelot might be trouble, especially with Arya having Lightning Bolt for Frog, which could use a lot of Arne's resources and then follow up with a Static Prison on it.
Yeah. And, Arya does have a lot of cantrips, so we're going to be able to sculpt a little bit, and try and find what we're looking for, but we have to do it before this Boros deck really gets to killing you. Arya draws another land, gets in with the Ocelot Pride. We know that's going to connect. And then it looks like Arya is hovering over her Pride, ready to deploy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're in Arne's spot, it's really going to be crucial for him to find a Toxic Deluge here. I don't think anything else is really going to do it. Just by how quickly the Pride is going to multiply, and a single Bow Masters or Fatal Push at the moment will not be enough.
Speaking of which, Bowmaster land milled over by Thought Scour, and I believe Toxic Deluge was the draw for turn. Arnie has 8 cards in hand, so it's hiding, but just the card you were talking about, he's going to need if he wants to stabilize in this game. But I think Arya might have topped a Blood Moon Hain.
Ooh, this is a spicy situation because Arne's found the Toxic Deluge he needs. He now needs to find the 3rd land to cast it, but it's going to be pretty good cleaning up all these cats. After taking 4 damage from this hit and then at least one life to clean up the cats. Blood Moon, pretty good, but Arnim either is going to have Force and Negation up, or looks like opting to have Counterspell up with. But Goblin Bombardment, even more exciting than Blood Moon, but will equally meet a Counterspell here.
Yeah, that one actually, Arya's got to be pretty happy about as insurance. I'm sure she's thinking about cards like Toxic Deluge here. This is an open deckless tournament. Both players know what the other one has available to them. But like you mentioned, this Force Negation and Counterspell are both going to be able to cover this card, depending, if Arya wants to maybe dig for that land. We're seeing Arya fetch right away. And deploying the Goblin Bombardment. So I guess
the fetching right away gives the illusion that Arya has a follow-up play, which I guess Lightning Bolt is a follow-up, but
yeah,
and wanting to fetch basic planes, that makes sense, but also potentially makes Arne question what's happening here, and but that bombardment cannot resolve.
yeah, the bombardment is getting countered. It really does Arnie want to Thought Scour and Cling to Dust as ways to draw into the lands for Toxic Deluge right away, or is Arnie willing to have Arya maybe even commit to the board more, right? From Arya's position, can probably live through most things that aren't Guide of Souls being played next turn, as long as we get the Toxic Deluge going on the following turn. Only 1 life needs to be paid currently.
Yeah, fascinating thing here that, again, because it's open deck list, Arya knows Toxic Deluge is the only thing Arne really has here to answer these cats.
Mhm.
Arne didn't find a third land, so doesn't have Toxic Deluge this turn. We'll probably have it next turn, but that's 6 damage from these cats plus Lightning Bolt, and then Toxic Deluge pays 1 life, so that's 10 life. So this fetch can't be really a fetch land or anything, because then
Oh, and we're seeing it's a surveil land. So Arnie's going to keep it, rather have a land than no land. Does have access to Cling to Dust. Finds another land on top. Curious to see if we want to surveil that one away or keep it.
I think this one you probably want to get rid of, just because coming into play tapped doesn't actually gain you that much, and you don't really need that many more lands to operate. The interest, Cling to Dust on your own Bowmasters that you milled with Thought Scour, definitely an option you might want to take to gain some life if you're worried about getting burnt out here.
Yeah, and I hope Arnie's partner doesn't like cats, because next turn it looks like it's going to be a massacre. So Johnny was the draw for Arya. We're going to have to see if she wants to play that, and could potentially bolt one of her cats in order to flip the Johnny. Might also even just flip it main phase and tick up in order to make Arnie have to pay more life on a Toxic Deluge.
Yeah, so Arya finally has the City's Blessing, which she could have had last turn by playing the Static Prison with no targets, which is a weird play. It only really makes sense if you expect that your opponent has Toxic Deluge, but on the following turn and not that turn. So, it makes sense to not do it. And yeah, holding back this Johnny for a follow-up turn really heads up.
Oh, and Arnie top decked the Toxic Deluge, So we have another one, as we are going to see Arya fetch in response, get a Surveil land, and make the decision here. Interesting spot.
Raven Charm, sideboard card that can exile graveyards as well as hit big creatures.
Yep. And speaking of a big creature, not the biggest, but a big draw here from Amped Raptor. And Ajani is going to lead the charge onto the battlefield. Arya holding the bolt. No one fired off last turn to let Arnie know that he's secretly at 4. Let's see what Amped Raptor reveals. Looks like a hit Guide of Souls. That's a powerful card as well. And now Arya's refilled, but Arnie has the second Deluge.
Yeah, second Deluge plus this Force of Negation makes it really hard to be in Arya's spot. I think Flage looks like the card that that Arya needs to come back here.
Goblin Bombardment's a good one, but that Force Negation has it covered. And if you're Arya, it feels like Arnie has everything here.
Interesting, because I don't know if I would necessarily counter this in Arya's spot. It's Arya is out of creatures, right? And you're at 5 life. That's
I think it does go back to the Flage draw you're talking about.
Yeah.
Arnie knows Flage, Lightning Bolt. These are the ways Arnie loses. And if a Flage gets played, any other creature with bombardments in play is going to be a problem. And knows that, like he wants to have a turn to develop Frog, ends up drawing the land to get both Frogs into play. But I agree that it's not clear, but I think it makes sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. It's I agree that, though I think it's just not a clear play.
Sure.
I think if you're on Team Arya, though, you're happy about getting Force Negation, because now these Frogs can be answered. And at least, with 4 energy, Arya still got all that Frog on lockdown for
and Giganta proving lethal.
A few more turns.
Arnie has to draw something like a Murktide or maybe a counterspell there in order to answer this Giganta, because it is threatening lethal every turn. And
the Bowmasters definitely buys a lot of time. Arnie also has a Cling to Dust still in the graveyard,
good point.
Is especially relevant with this draw of Flage here by Arya, which I think we are not going to see this turn, we'll probably see Gigantha, and then next turn, Arya can actually use the mana from Gigantha plus this Aether Hub for colorless to cast the Flage, and then to return it from the graveyard before giving Arne priority for this Cling to Dust.
Yeah, it was going to be a very sick play. We're actually seeing Arne immediately flashback this Cling to Dust in response to Gigantha. Decides that he wants to maybe get the card with the life. I'll see which one he chooses to go after. Went after the card, picks up another Fatal Push, or that doesn't really answer Gigantha. And like you said, Arya has this very sick line of double flaging.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's anything Arne can actually do about it here. With just 2 Fatal Pushes, no way to get Revolt.
Yeah, and Arya picking up the second copy of Flage, even if maybe one of these did get countered by something, would still have that pressure. And it looks like we're going to get a game 3, which you love to see.
Yeah. Oh, the more magic we get, the better.
As Flage is going to shoot Arnie in the face. Down to 1. And then, like you said, Arya can just flash back this Flage with Gigantha, which I think makes the most sense. Plays around Cling to Dust. And looks like Arya's maybe taking a second to think, is there some reason to play the one from my hand instead of the one from my graveyard? Obviously we know it doesn't really matter, but it's good in these spots, right, to make sure you don't give away the games that you're supposed to win, quote unquote.
Yeah, absolutely. If there was something, that counter unless you pay 1, then it would make sense to play the one from hand, but seems like the one from graveyard is better, just to play around Cling to Dust and exile all of your creatures as a cost.
A very sick play here, and it was looking bad there for Arya for a second, but the removal spells didn't line up super well. Plus, Flage is off the top to really seal the deal. It was already looking like a game where she was maybe crawling back in, and she's got a real chance to make it to the finals yet again and keep that undefeated title going for herself.
Yeah, like one of the key turn really, I think, was when Arne didn't draw the 3rd land for that the Toxic Deluge and had to delay it by 1 turn. Took so much damage from that kind of put him under a lot of pressure. And interestingly, like if Arne had the option to force a negation that turn instead of counterspell and maybe try and dig for a land, who knows how this game would have gone.
Yeah, would have had a lot more life, a lot more time. This blue-black Murktide deck kills quite quickly for kind of a Dimir deck. But let's see how these players went to sideboard for game number 3. We mentioned with Arya that if she was ever going to have Ragavan, it probably would have been on the play, and she's going to be on the draw here most likely, so I'm probably not going to see that. But you see her eyeballing Thraben Charm. Maybe that isn't a card she actually wants. And yeah, brings in the Reprieve we talked about. A little get.
Yeah, that's spicy. I mean, it makes sense. I think on the draw, it's a lot harder to actually build up a board of creatures because something like Ocelot Pride gets answered with MTGO Masters before it gets to trigger. Also, it's just harder to resolve spells often through counters.
Yeah, and we see Arne actually cut a Toxic Deluge and bring back in a Murktide, wanting to maybe develop a bit more and be kind of the one, presenting the threats instead of answering them.
Yeah, which again makes sense when you're on the play. I think these tiny sideboard changes on the play and draw are pretty important, and a lot of players miss out on them. But of course, we're dealing with some of the best here, and nobody's missing those opportunities.
And speaking of the best of the best, Arya has a great hand here, and Arya's got a little bit of a weird one. He's going to mulligan here and go down to 6.
Yeah, I think this 6 looks pretty keepable to me. I mean, it's awkward to only have a 1-lander, but with double Thought Scour, you're gonna hope you get there. You have Bowmasters, Fatal Push. I guess the question is, what do you get rid of it? Maybe it's the Force of Negation, just because you're going to be a little low on resources. I could see Cling to Dust too, but I think that's just a really important tool to have to answer Flage when Arne didn't board in Nile Spellbomb, which could have if he was more concerned about that.
Yeah, maybe didn't board in because was planning on Cling to Dust to be that out. So we're gonna have to see. It looks like Arne is kind of debating on Thought Scour being the card. Maybe Arne is just planning his turn out, but no, it looks like he is gonna put back Thought Scour, and we're underway for game number 3 here, as it is a Darkslick Shores in a pass of the turn.
Yeah, Arne does have the option of cling to dust on, let's say the Thought Scour itself afterwards as a way to draw a card. Arne definitely is valuing the Force of Negation in hand as a way to answer, potentially later on, I guess, in the game, a removal spell or a Blood Moon.
Yeah, I think Blood Moon being the big one, with maybe like a Bombardment being something you could imagine fighting over. As we are just going to see actually Fatal Push on this Guide of Souls. See if we can just draw off the top here. And it is a land. It's a painful one, but a land nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely take that. That's the price of having an extra spell or blue card for your Force of Negations. Your deck happens sometimes. Arne kind of in an awkward spot, and against this Ajani, no real clean answer to it.
Yep, sees a Thought Scour, mills over some cards, draws a Psychic Frog. I'm curious to see if you want to use this Cling to Dust right away. And looks
I gotta
like
say, Mason, from where I'm sitting, I'm gonna call Arya being in the finals here.
Yeah, Arya looks to be in a great position when it comes to the finals. Draws Nihil Spell Bomb off the Cling Dust. That's going to help with the Flash. But yeah, I mean, Arya's kind of doing what this deck has been, kind of it's like good draw, right? And like part of the reason why you play it is just like your turn 1, your turn 2, your turn 3, so impactful. Turn 4, you start double spelling or playing stuff like the One Ring, you start running away with the game. And she's having that draw right here, and even on the draw, it's still just so powerful. And had she been on the play, Arnie might have just been too far behind to even keep up.
Yeah, I mean, it's really showcases the power of all these Boros energy cards. That kind of and just the classic thing in Magic that it's better to be the one presenting threats than the one needing to answer them, because there's no such thing as a wrong threat. But Orcish Bowmaster is usually a great card against this Boros energy deck. Not so good against Ajani. Not so good against Guide of Souls.
Yep.
Fatal Push. Yeah, that does all kinds of things. What we saw last game doesn't answer Gigantha. Doesn't answer Flage. So a lot of interesting stuff going on here, though we do see Arne protecting his Psychic Frog, and Arya has some options here.
Yeah, it looks like Arya's weighing whether she wants to Legend Rule her Johnny and get that going, or maybe even attacking. See if Arne wants to discard a card, then Bolt the Frog, could play Amped Raptor. Just has a ton of play. And part of the reason, too, why players like this deck so much, just a lot of agency, despite your cards not seeming like they have a bunch of modality from the Boros deck.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the play of attacking with both creatures looks really good to me, because Arne is definitely not going to block your Cat Warrior with the Frog. But even if that happens, at any point of when Arne discards a card, you can respond with Lightning Bolt, and the Frog will never get past 3 toughness. And blocking a Johnny, it wouldn't die if it happened. So post combat, you could make this play of Amped Raptor or play Johnny. But
no, Goblin Bombardment, such a huge play here. Arya is going to be able to kill this Psychic Frog, flip her Johnny this turn, and just has this bombardment for the rest of the game, invalidating to an extent all of Arnie's removal. I have to agree with you, Hayne. It's looking like we're going to have a Karm Chandani finals.
Yeah, I mean, it was looking really good before. Now, I don't think Arne has any outs. I think he could draw the card he chooses from the top of his deck, and have Arya draw the card he chooses again from the top of her deck every turn for the rest of this game, and I don't think he would win.
Yep, and we're seeing a heads-up play here from Arya. As Arnie concedes, yeah, Arya shot the Frog, was going to take up the Ajani, shoot the Frog again. Arnie knew he had nothing. Congratulations, Arya Kamchandani. Moving on to our finals. Now, that's not the end of Arnie. Arnie is going to play the loser of our game for 3rd place to sort of, we have some different prizes and stuff like that going on, as well as just honor. But I think it's time for Hayne and me to battle it out in some Modern.
Yeah, I think so, and we'll see which one of us gets the chance to try and stop the unstoppable. I guess I gotta say, I hope it's me, but
Well, I hope it's me. So, it's going to be a fun time either way. But we'll be back in just a couple minutes. But before we do that, we do want to do a giveaway in the chat. And you can type cube, and you will get a chance to win 120 play points. And that way you can use that for something like maybe cube. Put cube in the chat. And when we are back from our break, we will pick the winner. See you all in just a couple minutes.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. If you just tuned in, you have missed it. We have had one game down so far, and Aya cannot be stopped. We'll be seeing her in the finals and one game away from the back-to-back champion. But before we get there, we've got a lot happening. We've got a giveaway going on right now on Magic Online's channel, over across on Anz's channel, and on Doomwait's channel and Young Dingo's channel. Shout out to both of those two co-streaming. Hope everyone in those chats is having a bunch of fun as well. All you need to do, if you haven't yet, in all four of those channels, is type the word cube. If you haven't typed the word cube, you've only got moments to do it. But if you do it, then you're going to have a chance of winning 120 play points, courtesy of our sponsor, Daybreak Games. So let's pick some winners. Anu, pick me a winner in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Boom. You see your name in chat. Congratulations. You need to reach out to NZMTG. He'll give you a code. You're going to be 120 play points better off. Or as I like to call it, a vintage cube. If you don't see your name, though, don't worry. We're going to have a lot more giveaways throughout this evening, but you do need to type the word, say it with me, rigs in chat. The more rigs, the more giveaways, the bigger giveaways that we'll be doing. But now, while we've picked the winners and we get that sorted, let's get down to our next match. Let's find out who's going to join Aya in that finals. We just seen them battle out. It's going to be Aya and Arnie in the booth, which means Alex and Mason are going to go head-to-head. So, Aya, Arnie, take it away.
Hello and welcome back to MTGO Masters Season 2. I'm Arno Schmidt and I'm joined by Arya Karamchandani, who just dismantled me in the first semifinals of today. Good games, Arya. Congrats on your win.
Thanks, good games. I got a little lucky to get there for sure, but yeah.
That's how it goes sometimes. They were definitely, some tight, interesting games, and I really enjoyed playing them. But now we're going to take a look at the second semifinal. Alexander Hain on Lantern Control, of all things, against Mason Clark on Yakmov. So two off the beaten path decks, I guess. Two decks that have fallen by the wayside recently. Are you excited about this matchup?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw Lantern Control in a match of Modern Magic, so I'm excited to see how it plays.
All right, apparently we're already ready to go into the match, so let's do that. All right. So we have Mason Clark keeping a 6-man hand. Already has played Dried Arbor, is on the play against the 7-card hand from Hain. Yeah, boy, it's been a while since I've seen a Lantern Control hand, and it definitely still looks as weird as usual. Surgical Extraction, Pipping Heal, and Codex Shredder. Yeah, I think we're in for something quite unusual.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting matchup because this is the sort of deck that Lantern should be good against, right? Like Yawgmoth only has like the only cards that matter are Yawgmoth and Grist. The rest of the deck doesn't do very much. So theoretically, Lantern should be well positioned against this, but also like Lantern's lost so many tools from the last time it was strong. I don't know if just the base strength of the deck is there to beat something like Yawgmoth.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm so out of the loop with Lantern. What did they even lose? Did they lose Mox Opal, I suppose?
Yeah, Mox Opal was the big one.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I don't think I've seen a Lantern Control deck since Saga's been printed, and that seems to be a huge ad, so who knows?
Very true, very true. All right, we see fast development by Mason. Triple 1-drop start, Dried Arbor untouched as a land here on turn 1, which is usually a pretty risky line, but against with open deck list here against. Although, actually, they did not know what the opponent was on.
Well, Hain's other deck is Boros Energy, right? So that is the companion. So that's a downside of playing a companion event like this, I suppose.
Yeah. That's what I thought when we played against each other as well. That you could not know what I was on when making one of these.
Oh, actually, Hain's deck doesn't have Giganta as a companion. So Mason was just really brave taking a risk out here.
Okay, and we do see an interesting line here. I got a soul cauldron being surgical. I suppose the reasoning there might be that the cauldron is a bit of a tricky card that can be can sort of mess around ensnaring bridge and whatnot, and just getting rid of that completely.
Yeah, cauldron's also like one of I think the few ways that that Yawgmoth can win. Like, say you're able to get rid of all the Yawgmoths at some point, that's kind of just down to Grist and Cauldron as the win conditions. So it makes some sense to like kind of try and snipe that. Just reduce Mason to 0 win conditions in deck, I think is how Anna wins this.
Absolutely. And so, just to refresh, maybe perhaps some viewers who haven't who've joined Modern in recent years, what does this lantern? How does this lantern deck win? What is its game plan? What's going on here, Arya?
So the way Lantern Control works is it's reliant on this one card, Lantern of Insight, which I'm sure we'll see in play at some point. And what that does is it makes both players have to play with the top card of their deck revealed. So the deck plays out Lantern Control or gets into play with Urza's Saga, and then leans on these effects like Codex Shredder you see in play. There's cards like Pyxis of Pandemonium in some lists that like kind of do the same thing. A lot of cards that let you selectively mill the top card of your opponent's library. So you want to assemble that Lantern plus Codex Shredder combo, and that way you can try and make sure your opponent never draws a relevant card, because whenever they would draw a card that's relevant, you can just mill it with Shredder. So you can make sure they have dead draws turn and turn again, and then you somehow or the other lock them out of the game. The most common way of doing that is Ensnaring Bridge, which we see in Haynes' hand, where Ensnaring Bridge prevents your opponent's creatures from being able to attack if you have no cards in hand. So you set up this lock where you have an Ensnaring Bridge in play, 0 cards in hand, so that your opponent can't attack with anything. And then if they're ever going to have a relevant draw off of their off of what you can see off Lantern, you just try and mill that card off of Codex Shredder to ensure they keep drawing cards that don't matter while you have an Ensnaring Bridge in play.
Yeah, it is. It does sound a little complicated, but if you break it down, it does seem. Yeah, it's a very unusual way of winning at Magic the Gathering, and Lantern Control will sort of be in that Hall of Fame of weirdness, probably until the end of the game, or hopefully it never ends. Of course, Grist hits the battlefield. Another Undying Wolf. We're hitting in there with Undying Wolf for 1 damage, putting Hane to 16. Oh, making 2 insects. Look at that. But Yakmov has been named with that Piffy Needle already, so that is not really an option. And Hane is just 1 land away, and of course having to empty his hand actually is kind of tricky here, perhaps. Because all these 1/1 creatures, yeah, the text on Ensnaring Bridge will make it a little tricky there.
Yeah, I wouldn't even be that surprised if we saw Hane Thoughtseize himself a turn or 2 down the line to make sure that he can get empty-handed and not die to the creatures on board.
Yep. That's a neat play that does come up. Who would you like to play against out of these 2 opponents? So Mason is on. What is Mason like? Hane's second deck is Boros Energy. What is Mason's second deck again?
Mason's second deck is Goryo's. And I think I'd much rather play against Mason than I would Hane, because my list is I'm playing Blue-Black Frog as my second deck, and my list is very not prepared for Boros, since I knew that neither you nor Mason could bring it this week, and I was just kind of hoping to dodge it. And so it's a tough matchup to start with. My list is very not prepared for it, so I think I'd be in a lot of trouble if that's what I'm up against.
All right. So we have Piffy Needle naming Grist. Logically, that ultimatum could be troublesome, of course, because it goes around Ensnaring Bridge. Thoughtseize actually targeting Mason here. So if Hane keeps drawing expensive cards like another Bridge, the actual effect of Bridge won't be coming to effect against all these 1/1s.
In fact, I believe if Hane doesn't draw something that somehow gets him out of this, he's just dead next turn, right? Mason gets to play Bowmasters, get him to 7, and then has 8 power and 1/1 attackers.
Yeah. So was Hayne just supposed to force these here on Assassin's Trophy? Probably.
Yeah, I think he was maybe forced to try and play out Ensnaring Bridge and hope to get lucky off the next draw. Yeah, I don't.
Right, yeah. We would have had to hit a land as well. I guess his Ancient Stirrings could find an untapped land and then play the bridge. Yeah. Maybe Alex is gonna beat himself up a little bit about not forcing that Assassin's Trophy.
I think maybe he didn't think about Bowmasters exactly as a possibility, as a way of like putting a bunch of damage into play.
Hmm.
Yeah, the Yawgmoth's whole like creature beatdown strategy is generally seen as pretty weak. Like of all the combo decks in modern and other formats in general, Yawgmoth is seen as having like one of the weaker B plans, I think. Like the backup plan of just attacking with 1/1s and 1/2s is a lot weaker than like attacking with Urza Saga constructs or whatever that other combo decks do in their fail state. But in this specific matchup against Ensnaring Bridge as a card specifically, the backup plan of attacking with a bunch of little 1/1s is actually really, really strong.
Yeah, that was that was yeah, an interesting game of Magic, I suppose. All right, now we're going to sideboarding. MTGO Massacre is in Haynes' sideboard. I suppose that would be quite good against what just happened to him. But we'll see. Oh no, I'm sorry. That is not Haynes' sideboard. We have 2 black-green decks next to each other. It's a little
Yeah.
confusing. That's actually Mason's sideboard. Interesting. MTGO Massacre. That is surprising to me to see that in Yakma, but he probably has his good reasons. What are we seeing coming in here?
I mean, for Mason, I think it's mostly about having artifact and enchantment interaction. So we saw Rex Sage come in. I think he's bringing in Endurance. That's pretty useful because the way Lantern technically wins is by decking you. So maybe there's some world in which Lantern's unable to kill you if you draw an Endurance or 2. It's also
Mm.
just like better than some of the really dead cards, like 1-for-1 interaction. But yeah,
What do you think? Hmm?
it's just all about that interaction with problematic permanents. So that's why we see Duress coming in as well as something that hits the relevant cards.
What do you think about the One Ring here?
The One Ring's interesting. I don't think Hayne has any Pixis of Pandemonium. I think so. The One Ring depends a lot on whether lanterns, or depends at least a little bit on whether the effects lantern is leaning on target, which I don't. I think
Hayne
they
does
all
have
do.
2 Pixes, which says each, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a limited utility there. It really depends on the texture of the game. And like in theory, Lantern does like just drawing a bunch of cards could be pretty bad for Lantern because you can just draw through the top of your deck being locked by drawing like 3 or 4 times cards at a time with Ring. But I think in practice, a lot of the time, what Lantern does with these surgical post board particularly is just lock you out of being able to win the game at all. So in that case, if you like don't have Yawgmoths, don't have Cauldrons, don't have Grists, then One Ring is just a dead clunky draw, and you'd rather be able to apply pressure more quickly before Lantern gets the whole lock set up.
Absolutely. All right, we have a keep 7 on both sides, Lantern of the Inside from Hayne, a 2-lander, Ensnaring Bridge, and Ancient Stirrings to find Codex Shredder, for example, to start setting up a lock with the Lantern, controlling those draw steps. And yeah, pretty good hand from both players. Halfling, turn 1 into Grist, or even a Rex Sage. Looks pretty good for Mason. Oh.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty good example of the way Lantern Control leverages Lantern specifically. So, what a spot like this means is once you have information on the top of Mason's library, a lot of your cards just get a lot stronger. So we're going to see Pithing Needle naming Grist here, whereas in the blind, Hayne would probably have named Yawgmoth, but this is certainly shutting off 2 cards from Mason. And then we have Codex Shredder, and Hayne's going to be able to make sure that Mason doesn't draw more relevant cards still, or at least would in theory be able to do that if not for the fact that Mason has interaction for this pithing needle.
Yeah, the reclamation sage will probably hit that pithing needle at some point. You're absolutely right. Lanthorn's Insight is in play. There's more and more information being gathered and used to Hane's event. The Wall of Roots hitting the battlefield using its ability to produce another mana and play Agatha's Soul Cauldron, adding up the mana. Ready, I suppose, to also have the option to play Yakmov next turn. What of calling on Mason's library? We'll see what Hane does about that one. Might be able to Codex Shredder it away. I suppose Haywire Might is on Hane's mind probably. So I might want to get rid of that chord.
Hayden doesn't know about the Rex Sage either, so there's some chance Mason could God for that. There's lots of different ways God can make things go wrong. Yeah, one change we've seen a bunch in Yogg decks over the last several months has been this increase in selection provided by Malevolent Rumble, kind of similar to what the Nadu decks are doing. And I think that card specifically makes this matchup a lot harder because the more abilities Yogg has to dig below just the top card of their library, the weaker the whole Lantern control plan gets. And so something like Malevolent Rumble, just a hard card for uh, Hayne to beat and makes this whole like controlling the top of Mason's library a little more difficult than it would have been, I think, with previous iterations of Yogg.
Yeah, absolutely. Malevolent Rumble being cast, Mason taking another counter away from the Wall of Roots. Yeah, the Rumble is just a very silent, innocent, innocuous card from MH3 that really has made an impact in a lot of various strong archetypes.
Yeah, the combination with Shifting Woodlands, which we see on top of Mason's library, has been particularly potent because what you do, Rumble is really good at letting decks that don't normally fill up their graveyards get Delirium, and that means that it lets a lot of decks that wouldn't previously have access to get this resiliency from Woodlands that like makes his creature combo decks fold a lot less to interactive decks.
And oh my god, we have milled a Yakmov with the Rumble, just picture perfect. I assume that was what Mason was looking for. And now Yakmov enabled on the battlefield here. We have a little halfling with some very strong abilities. Interestingly enough, Mason doesn't choose to draw any cards quite yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by the choice to not try and like go off here, but I suppose it's pretty difficult for Mason to actually kill in this spot, so might as well wait until there's some more resources in play. Yeah, I think to actually kill Mason would need like enough mana to play a second Young Wolf for the Blood Artist, so that's probably why I waited. Though, I mean, something like removal for the Soul Cauldron really punishes this.
Yeah. I think I also would have liked to at least maybe make a land drop in that scenario. Sack the wolf a couple times. I guess you can only sack it once.
Yeah. To draw, I think multiple cards, Mason would have to start giving up resources in terms of stuff on his board, and I can see wanting to hold off on that for now.
Yeah. Wait, Alex does not need time on getting rid of that cauldron. Probably pretty happy about that Haywire Might draw. But yeah, with the Lantern of Insight, Alex can manipulate his own library as well, right? If he's thinking with a hate piece that he really needs, he can just start milling his own deck.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to see Hayne coming back from this one, given what we know is in Mason's hand and has one Pithing Needle, but there's a Rex Sage and multiple Grist and Yawgmoth and a Beseiju. So Mason has at this point multiple pieces of interaction for any block piece Hane could have. So not really sure what winning this game looks like for Hane anymore.
I mean, Hane does have the garden. You can copy one of the Hane pieces with, right? And he does have an Urza Saga coming to chapter 3. Perhaps. Chance. But yeah, I agree. It's not looking great.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gardens can't copy Pithing Needle, or it could, but it wouldn't do anything because there was no card named with it.
Oh, right.
So that, I think, complicates matters a little for Hane. Yeah, I think we might see Mason try and kill next turn, where all he needs is a card. I don't know. Different Yawgmoth decks like to actually win the game a little bit differently. So yeah, he has Zulapod Cutthroat in his deck, but he could conceivably win next turn by going land, Yawgmoth, Young Wolf. No, he's 1 mana off of winning next turn. My apologies. With land, Yawgmoth, Young Wolf, try and like draw to his deck to find a card for the Zulapod Cutthroat. Yeah, he can draw a lot of cards if he wants to. And really, I think the world's kind of his oyster here. There's not much Hane can do about it.
I was kind of low-key rooting for Hane and his really off-the-beaten path deck. I mean, Yawgmoth has been one of the strongest decks in Modern, at least before Modern Horizons 3 arrived. So.
It's hard not to root for like a cool rogue deck like this. It's really bold move bringing it on Hane's spot, and I mean, who doesn't want to see Lantern Control win, right?
Yeah. I actually was considering playing Yawgmoth myself in this finals, together with Jessica Control. But upon talking to Stefan Schütz, who just made second in the recent Hawks finals, yeah, he kind of talked me out of it, just saying it's a little too weak, a little too underpowered. And, yeah, so in the end, I went with the boring choices, the obvious ones, Eldrazi and Dropside.
I actually considered playing Stefan's Mardu list or something really close to it for this week as well. But yeah, the problem is with the restrictions on what you can play, Mardu Energy having 3 colors of lands and 3 colors of spells just locked off too many other decks. I couldn't play it and also play the Murktide deck.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think this interaction works, but maybe I'm wrong.
We'll find out. In any case, Mason is gonna draw as much cards as life total is there to draw cards in this very moment. So yeah, as you said, if there would be another land drop to be made or another creature in play, there could be a code for 2 to find that Zulapod Cutthroat, lethal the opponent, sacrificing a bunch of creatures and draining the opponent out, but yeah, not possible in this case. All right, we have a Pithing Needle, and it looks like it's naming nothing.
Yep.
So you were dead on.
Unfortunate interaction, yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's hard to imagine what Hane could even draw here that would get him out of this. Maybe there's like a board wipe in his deck somewhere. But yeah, ultimately, like this whole Lantern Control deck is kind of built around the assumption that your opponent wins the game by attacking you, and Yawgmoth wins the game other ways a lot of the time. So you kind of have to lock out all their combo pieces and lock out their combat step. And I think those two are generally a little more than what this deck can do.
Yeah, and then there's also green as a color, which is very good at blowing up artifacts. So it's just an absolute nightmare, probably. Reclamation Sage hitting the board. I'm curious what Mason is going to here.
I think it probably goes after the Ensnaring Bridge, just to like let Mason start getting somewhere towards winning. Mason has like a lot of cards, but he doesn't have infinite cards. He has 9 more draws, and with Codex Shredder plus Lantern of Insight, it's pretty unlikely that he can find what he needs with those draws to actually win the game. So at that point, might as well get in some damage and tax the one resource this Lantern control deck has going.
That's a good point. Definitely an interesting spot. Could have drawn more cards, but yeah. A bubble, a redraw, Lantern of Insight on top, Hain using the Shredder to dig towards something that does something. But yeah.
It's hard to imagine what that even is at this point. Mason still has this like kind of lock on Hain where he gets a bunch of looks next turn at the top of his deck to try and find something that wins the game. He can shuffle with a fetch because he has this information thanks to Lantern. He can draw in response to a Codex Shredder activation. There isn't even a Codex Shredder to activate, so I guess that part doesn't even matter.
Yeah. Oh, there's a second Versager. Nice one.
Oh, I guess he can also just kill Hain. Since there's no Installing Bridge in play, he can just proliferate with Yawgmoth, and this is way over lethal damage.
Fetching a second black fourth black source indicates exactly that move, as you've just said.
The Zulaport got thrown on top of the deck as well is almost a little rich. Mason has an embarrassment of ways to kill Hain here.
Poor Lantern. All right, well, you got your wish, as it looks like, Arya. No Boros Energy in the finals, and instead we have Aspergarios versus your frog type list. How are you feeling about that?
I'm feeling pretty decent. I haven't gotten to play that much with Frogtide. I am kind of just relying on like general Magic experience and having watched some amount of other people play the deck to get me there. It's not like last week I played Amulet. That's like a deck in which I've had infinite reps. And then like against you, I played Boros, which I've had way fewer reps, though I have gotten to like watch a bunch of coverage and do a bunch of coverage of that. So I have like more experience there. I think Frogtide is on the like low end of experience I have with decks. So I'm not 100% confident in my ability to pilot it. But I do know that Aspergoria is definitely a better matchup than Hain's energy deck would have been for me with like 0 energy deck in the sideboard.
All right, well, congrats to Mason Clark for snatching the second final spot. Commiserations to Alexander Hain, not quite making it, but we'll see him playing against me in the playoff match for third place, also very soon. All right, guys, with that being said, let's do a little bit of a giveaway for you all. And today, please type in Marksfield in the chat, and one lucky winner will get 120 play points. Great games. Type in Marksfield in chat right now.
And we are back here, MTGO Masters Season 2. We are in the top 4, and we now know the final 2 that will be battling out in those finals. And that's who we're going to hear in the booth momentarily. But before we get there, I need to pick some winners. We got giveaways happening, ladies and gentlemen. We've got it happening on the Magic Online channel. We got it on Anz's channel, Doomwake's channel, and Young Dingo's channel. And here's the kicker. I've been promising you all season, if you spammed a lot of rigs in chat, I'll get you more giveaways. We're going to pick 2 winners to this round of giveaways. So you got to be in it to win it. Type the word Moxfield in all 4 channels if you haven't already, because I'm picking 2 winners in each channel right now. That is a lot of giveaways for all you people for showing the support for us here right now. So on that one, let's pick some winners. Anu, pick them in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Boom. Right, there's some winners. If you see your name, congratulations. If you want more giveaways, and I'll give you a little teaser there, I need to see more rigs going up in chat. If I see a bunch, if I see the whole chat being rigged, then maybe we'll do even more giveaways in the next one, because this is the finals, ladies and gentlemen. So on that one, as we pass it across to our next set of casters, you will be seeing them battle it out in the finals. But first, we've got to get a 3rd place winner. So we're going to pass it across to we're going to pass it across to Mason. Take it away, you two.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the sort of 3rd place semifinals match of MTGO Masters Season 2. I am your host, Benjamin Clark, joined by my co-host Arya Kamchandani. And Arya, are you excited to see which one of these players will end up in 3rd place before you and I battle it out for first?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, one of my favorite things about this tournament series is getting to cast these this high level Magic. I love casting. I particularly love casting when sort of like the best players in the world playing, and so getting to cover 2 PT winning players battle it out in Modern sounds like an absolute blast to me.
Yeah, it sounds like a great time, and we're going to head down there as soon as the players are ready. I believe we're going to be watching Boros Energy versus Through the Breach, if I remember correctly. So that's going to be a pretty exciting matchup.
Yeah.
And let's just actually head on down to the future match area right now. Then it sounds like our players are ready to go.
It's a matchup we saw some of in the mock last weekend when I was doing coverage. It's a pretty tough matchup for the Eldrazi side, I think, when there's no Kozilek's returns in the main, which is the case with Ana. So going to be a bit of an uphill slog, but not unwinnable by a long shot.
For sure. And here we are in the 3rd place deciding match of MTGO Masters Season 2, Week 12. And we got an opening hand here where Hayne seems to kind of have, a 1-2 spells. And Arnie's got, some mana and some way to do it.
Yeah, this is the first part of what Hayne really wants to see going into the match, which is winning the die roll. I think this is colossally important for the Breach deck. It's really, really hard to get there if you don't win the die roll. You're just much slower than the energy deck. But yeah, this is a good start. I think Hayne just really needs to Ana really needs to just find ways to close out the game quickly, and he'll be an excellent choice.
Yep. We're going to see an Ancient Stirrings on turn 1. Arnie giving Hayne a life. So kind of him. Arnie gets to play this powerful card selection spell. At one point, players wanted this banned in Modern, and it adds an Emrakul to Arnie's hand as we pass over to Hayne.
In most matchups, when you throw the Breach and Emrakul, you win the game because you have unsacrificed 6 permanents. There's no real coming back from that. Against Energy as well, the few matchups where that's not necessarily the case. It's entirely possible to throw the Breach and Emrakul, getting 15 damage. Your Energy opponent is slid 8 to 10 life and has 5 or 6 permanents sitting around. So,
well,
not quite the be-all end-all.
I beat Nathan Stoyer last week with 0 permanents after the Emrakul hit me in this exact matchup. So it can be really tough from the Through the Breach side, to say the least. You just don't have a lot of ways to actually win a game of Magic. So Johnny comes down.
That said, this is kind of the one way I could see things working out for Ana, where if give it a turn or two, Mason does not draw. Hayne does not draw more permanents, more threats, and Ana's able to go Kozilek's command into all his dust. That's one of the ways I could see him winning this, is if Hayne just kind of runs out of gas and then Ana goes over the top of him.
Yep, and Arne did draw Ulamog. Arne deciding if he wants to Kozilek's return now, maybe wait for the next turn. Probably going to see the spawns get made when it comes to that. But we could see, a scry and a draw in combination with that, or maybe a kill spell, answering either this Ajani or this Ocelot Pride. Arne just wanting to take a minute to really think through the lines here and what's available.
Yeah, it's a complicated spot. Like you said, the spawns are almost certainly getting made. I think Anna's pretty close to priced into scrying and drawing here just to make sure he can hit that land next turn to be able to afford all this dust. The command would give him 2 spawns, and then he needs 5 mana off his lands to be able to cast it. The only issue is that, and know that the reason he's thinking so long is if he does that, he might die.
Yeah.
This energy deck represents a lot of damage very quickly, and Anna doesn't know that Hayden doesn't have something like a Goblin Bombardment in hand that would just end the game really quick.
Yeah, Goblin Bombardment sort of become an all-star in this deck, something that does, like you're describing, present a lot of reach, and it's a great permanent for your Johnny to reach that red requirement. And yeah, Arne's really in the tank trying to figure out how to get out of this because he does want that 3rd place. You can't go to Worlds now and say that he is the champion. That is psychological damage for him. But, he can maybe come on with 3rd.
Yeah. I mean, like this match could matter a lot,
Mm-hmm.
Round 1 of Worlds, Anna sits across the table from Hayne, having won this match, and looks at him, and Hayne, he knows he's cooked. He knows he's already lost once to Anna. He's been in the spot before, and he can't afford to be in the spot again. So, lots of pride on the line, lots of psychic damage to be inflicted at Worlds should one player win this and play the other there.
And Alexander Hayne is someone who will bring it up. You play against like Javier Dominguez, he's not going to bring it up. But Hayne's going to be like, remember when we last played and I beat you in front of all those people and Arya and Mason made fun of you? Like, that was pretty cool. And that is something you can easily imagine Hayne doing. It would not be a problem at all. Speaking of problems, Arnie's moving really quick. So we're going to be right back with the more Magic. Sorry to interrupt you there. I just want to let the viewers at home know why you're looking at our great faces instead of some Magic. Speaking of Magic, Arya, it looks like maybe we're back. I had a good segue. Don't need it. Save it for later, as it looks like maybe Arne wasn't actually thinking, but instead was having to reboot the computer a little. But anyways, here we are back in this exact same position. And yeah, I think I kind of like holding just because it lets you get a little bit better idea. Like, do you want to be drawing or do you want to be killing? Like there's even a world where maybe you do want to like kill and draw instead of make spawns, like in a world where Bombardment comes down, since Hayne could use that to stop your mana. But another land off the top from Hayne, just kind of actually like you playing the energy deck in our semi-final match.
Yeah, Hayne does have access to the Arid Mesa to fetch for Surveil land, which I think is really important.
Notably, Hayne doesn't have Giganta, so can't just put that into hand like we saw from you, which would have been a nice little combo with Arena of Glory. Hayne smacks in for 5, places land, and looks like it's just going to probably be passing the turn here. Could bolt his cat. I think that's what he's considering right now to maybe get a Johnny, but like you mentioned, he knows Arne doesn't have Kozilek's return in the main deck, so that's going to make that play a little less appealing than maybe it normally would.
So, given that Hayne doesn't have a red permanent, there's not really that much value to him flipping a Johnny, like you said. It would be interesting to see how that calculus would have changed, if that maybe been like an Amp Raptor or something, whether he'd have wanted to spend a Lightning Bolt to maybe like get some more value. But yeah, as it stands, he's just kind of in the waiting room for all this dust.
Well, what if Arne just wins the game here with putting Emrakul under an Ugin's Labyrinth and attacks with Ulamog the Defiler?
That seems pretty good.
Yeah, and it looks like Arne is just doing the math here. I believe it's lethal, if I remember how Ulamog works correctly. Yeah, it looks like Arne's actually reading it, getting a double check.
I believe Annihilate 15 will probably get there regardless of the damage input involved.
Yeah, well, you never know, but and it does look like Arne is going to most likely go for that here. Probably thinking, is there any way Hayne can stop me? He doesn't have Reprieve main like Arya had and her sideboard. No, okay, I'm going to go for it. Let's just win this game. and try and lock it up in a kind of a quick one.
That's part of the advantage of playing the specific version of the deck rather than say the like more mid-rangey Eldrazi decks that are just looking to play out creatures rather than through the breach in Emrakul and Ulamog. Is you do have this potential to kind of win the game out of nowhere, and that gives you a lot of equity in matchups like this where your fair game plan is just almost certainly going to be slower than what they're doing.
Have to agree. And it looks like Haynes taking a second maybe to also read the Ulamog. See, is there anything I can do here? Haynes, someone who's willing to take a little bit of time, double check his work, And yep, we're going to be moving on to the sideboards. Arnie up a game. Hayne Brington, a bunch of stuff. I think Hayne actually just copied the list I played last week, is what it looks like. We got the same person from MTGO. And, has a bunch of Charmaws and Sunspine links to deal damage. And we're seeing Arnie start to, figure out, does he want something like a Thought Not Seer? Has the World Breakers pulled aside? Pretty interesting. What do you think about it from Arnie's side?
I think in honest side, it's all about trying to be fast, stem the early bleeding. So you definitely want the Kozilek's returns, and the Dismember quite likely comes in. At that point, it's all about what you want to take out, I think, in honest spot, like which cards line up poorly against what Hayne is doing, which cards are a little clunky. So some of the slower stuff I could see coming out to make room for these, but really I think the name of the game is Kozilek's Return. You're trying to be as fast as possible. You're trying to cast Kozilek's Return as reliably as possible. And beyond that, it's pretty similar to game one. Notably, we see we see him taking out a copy of Through the Breach. And that makes a lot of sense because we just talked about how sometimes you Through the Breach Emrakul and it's not even enough of this matchup. And at that point, what's the card really doing for you? There's some situations where it's good, but it's not the always win the game button it is in many other matchups.
Yep. Yeah. And just sort of putting in the final touches. Malevolent Rumble, a card that has really impressed in Modern and super nice in this deck with just, kind of making your land drops, finding the pieces of the combo you need, but also setting up things like Kozilek's Return to be a sweeper later on when you play your big boom boom.
Yeah, this is one of the more fair uses of Rumble, even as compared to what we saw you use it for in Yawgmoth and what it was used for in Nadu. When decks like those on top of the selection, it was giving a body that was really valuable. It was giving you like Delirium payoffs, like shifting Woodlands to get more redundancy. In this matchup, it's just selection, maybe a little mana, maybe a blocker, but like there's some fringe graveyard synergies. But mostly it's there for selection, and even just in that role, it's clearly strong enough to make the cut.
And speaking of making the cut, it's time to cut on down to the match as our players are done mulliganing, sideboarding, and Haynes got a Ragavan into a Blood Moon on 2 if he wants it. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Blood Moon, pretty good in this matchup. I think it's a lot less good here than against traditional Tron. Specifically, the talismans in Anna's deck mean that Blood Moon can plausibly be like played through with like green cards being available and single pip colorless cards being available. Particularly post mod when there's like Kozilek's Return. Game plans like this of Kozilek's Return into the ring can often win through Blood Moon, so not necessarily game over. Also,
the mana is awful.
Yeah, the mana is horrendous for Hayne if he wants to do that. Because if he plays a turn 2 Blood Moon, that would mean not being able to fetch a plains. Because the only untapped land on 1 was the Sacred Foundry, and then Arena of Flurry on 2 means no plains being fetched, which is pretty problematic. They're not necessarily the end of the world with this Ragavan providing at least a little white mana.
Yep. And Grove of the Burning Willows getting cast. Going to be used to cast Ancient Stirrings. Arnie going to try and figure out exactly what he needs. Takes an Ugin's Labyrinth. That could be a turn 3, the One Ring. Pretty powerful. Speaking of the One Ring, Hayne picks up his own copy.
Yeah, I wonder if there's ever any consideration from Hayne for waiting a turn before playing out Blood Moon just to be able to develop his board a little more. Obviously, with the benefit of us being able to see the match, that looks better to us. But yeah, it's a pretty close call. The main issue I think with playing out Blood Moon here is it being soft to Kozilek's Return, but it's really hard to get out multiple creatures and pump things up with Guide of Souls if you're only working with white mana off of Ragavan Treasures and none off lands.
Yeah, I agree. I also think Blood Moon, like you're mentioning, it isn't game over. It's kind of a stopgap. So Hane, is probably going to be wanting to have pressure on board. Ragavan does a decent amount of that, right? But having those extra bodies could be a great way to pressure Arnie. So it is a really tough decision, despite, sort of having your sideboard card in your hand on turn 2. And here comes the Blood Moon. Arnie getting to play his Stomping Grounds for what would have just been a mountain for him anyways, plays the Talisman and passes the turn back, and is threatening the One Ring and Kozilek's Return if Hane doesn't put up enough pressure to, make Arnie want to pull the trigger on the K return.
And notably, this might look not great for Hane, but it could have been considerably worse. If he had actually played out the Guide of Souls plus a Johnny, I think this game would have been pretty close to over on the spot, because Anna would have just been able to go Ugin's Labyrinth, exile something, Kozilek's Return, remove all 3 of your creatures. I don't really think there's any coming back from that for Hane, so this did actually kind of work out better for him, if probably still not particularly well for him.
Yep. So you're working out. Let's see what Amped Raptor hits as it flips over the deck. Maybe hit the One Ring since the card wasn't played. I think that was the only card we couldn't cast there.
The One Ring or Sunspine Links, I think, are the 2 cards in sideboard that couldn't be cast in that spot.
Maybe also wants to save the energy for, the ability to grow. That's something that's totally within range. But Stowing Microspawn picked up here my most hated card. Fun fact about me.
Today I learned, I suppose. I mean, you were on the MH3 team.
Yeah.
You could have stopped that. That's all you.
That the card is, you know what? It's worse because of me being on there. I'll tell you that. And actually, maybe that's why I don't like it too. Is because it's not really this version of Sowing Microspawn. I know the skeletons in that one's closet. As we pass the turn back with Bonecrusher Giant off the top for Hane, a way to actually fight through the One Ring.
Yeah, no white mana here, though, and a board probably getting wiped by Kozilek's Return. I think it's going to make it really, really hard for Hane to come back into this. Even if both players have the One Ring, end up having the One Ring in play, Anna just utilizes it a lot better, given access to all colors of mana for him and the ability to, kind of go over the top. Meanwhile, Hane's just kind of sitting here playing only red creatures, which I think is not going to get him there.
Yep. And you know what? Bonecrusher Giant, 4/3, 4 turns. I put enough there, Eldraine Standard to know that card can go the distance. We'll have to see if it can do it today, though. And aren't I picking up a Talisman? We'll allow him to go Talisman, Land, Ring if he wants it. Could also play Sowing Microspawn. Decides to play the card, the One Ring.
Talisman's actually a really good draw here, I think. Just getting more mana into play when One Ring can get you a pile of cards seems really nice. It allows him to develop in a way that's going to matter over the course of a long game. I think we will likely see Sowing Microspawn next turn, and then in a few turns I wouldn't be shocked at all to see some Eldrazi getting hardcast.
Yeah, and even stuff like this, All is Dust now, you're making the land drops to get towards it, which can then free from the Blood Moon, get your double mana going sooner. Although, like you mentioned, it's kind of bad for Hane, and Arnie might be able to sniff out that Hane has some white cards stuck in hand and might just play under the Blood Moon.
Yeah, at the very least, I could see Anna choosing to wait a little bit on the All is Dust until he gets to a spot, maybe in a turn or two, where he can play the All is Dust and then play the All is Dust, have some lands untapped after, and use those lands as double lands to produce a bunch of mana, so that he can also be the first one to play to the board post it.
And Sowing Microspawn was kicked. Going to blow up that land. Search Arnie's deck for a land. I imagine it's probably, just one of those Eldrazi temples. You don't even really need your green with your Talisman. So if the Blood Moon does go away, you get a little extra mana. But One Ring's going back and forth here as Hane is down to 18. And draws the Sunspine Links. That is a lot of damage for both players, but a lot of damage still.
Yeah, that's one of the ways I can see Hane winning this, is maybe chaining Sunspine Links or just base burn between that bombardment and bolt.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense to me. It's coming down. Damage can't be prevented, and then does damage to each player for each non-basic they have. And Arnie is down to 8 with a 1 ring on 2 counters. That's going to be 6, and that's just a couple bolts away.
Yep, couple bolts or just 1 more Sunspine Links.
True. Yeah, and the 1 ring will not stop you if you try to chain those together. As Through the Breach is drawn off the top, that is a good one here. And Emrakul, I think, will basically clean up the game.
Yep.
So
downside of Sunspine Links also dealing a bunch of damage to you is it puts you conveniently under 15.
Yep. And here comes Through the Breach into Ulamog the Defiler, just going out with some style. And congratulations to Arnie, who is going to be the 3rd place. Congratulations to Hayne as well for making top 4. I know that will go down in his Magic achievements and something he will think back to later on in life. But Arya, speaking of things that go down later on in life, I have got to stop you from having another Twitter post about being undefeated. And I think it's time for us to do a giveaway, and then you and me to battle it out in the finals.
All right, Mason, I'm ready.
All right, here goes Heavy Play in the chat. And with that, you can get 120 play points along with $5 at heavyplay.com. You can use their Equip Mag system to check out those awesome products. So head on over there and don't go anywhere when it comes to this, because we'll be right back with the finals of MTGO Masters Season 2.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are moments away from the finals. But before that happens, well, we need to pick ourselves some winners. We've got giveaways happening on 4 different channels. Magic Online, Anta's channel, Doomwake, and Young Dingo's channel. If you haven't already, go across those channels, type the word heavy play in, and you'll be in a chance of 120 play points, as well as that $5 gift voucher. So you've got moments to do that. I'm going to give you like 2 or 3 seconds to do it. That's your 2 and 3 seconds. Right, let's pick some winners. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Boom. You see your name in chat. Congratulations. If you're in Dingo's channel, message Dingo. If you're in Doom's, message Doom. If you are Magic Online or if you're on Anz's channel, you need to get hold of Anz. Just whisper him in the DM, slide right in there. They're going to give you a code. You're going to be 120 play points better off, plus that $5 voucher. And stick around because the next giveaway is going to be a big one. And that's what I'm telling you. Just stick around. The next one is going to be a big one. As the next match is going to be, where we have got a final setup ready to go. We've got Mason, we've got Aya. Are we going to see a back-to-back 2-time champion? Well, we need to find out. Because first, we've got some debts that need to be paid on this channel. You know what I mean? There was a certain bet made a few weeks ago where a certain somebody said if a certain deck was going to be able to win, maybe a little bird wizard was going to win, that they would have a forfeit that they were going to carry out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's just transition straight across to it. Let's just see what maybe is happening on the other scene. I haven't seen this. You haven't seen this. This could be a catastrophe. We don't know. We're going to find out together. So let's move across to it. Let's have a little look. Let's have a look in on Anz Cam, as we're now going to call it.
I'm ready. That's fine.
Okay, we're setting it up. It's something's about to happen, is what you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. Something's happening. We're setting up.
That's fine. That's exactly what I want.
Okay, let's go across to it. Let's do it.
All right. Can you all hear me? Hello, chat. Hello, everybody.
We can hear you.
It's working. So, all right. Listen, I get it. Okay. I did say I was going to eat my shorts because Arya at the end of episode 5, I believe, won with Nadu in the no ban list modern item. And, you know, basically, you pay what you owe. All right. You catch me? So, I don't.
What's underneath the dish, dude? What's underneath that big silver thing? Oh, we went for the delicacy of some nice white. Are they cotton? Is that 100% cotton?
I honestly, I don't actually know how this is going to work out. I've gone ahead and created a fancy tangy tomato sauce.
Okay.
And you know you can't have a good enough pairing besides Celsius. So we're gonna try this, and
I'm sure this is gonna go perfectly fine. Just how we scripted it.
I don't get paid enough to do this, Will. So
could you find a more blunter knife as well? That's
well, you know, whose idea?
Okay, you ain't covered it, mate. Just 2 hands it. Take a big bite out of it. Imagine it's a big juicy steak, maybe, or completely just use scissors. This is normal. This is literally high quality content that I hope everyone at home is waiting for in the finals.
I was told to eat my. I was told to eat my shorts. So cheers. Let's get back to the magic.
I hope that was clipped. All right, okay, cool. Right, well, we're going to pass it across to our set casters, which is me and Izanu, and we are going to commentate on the finals. So we've started 12 weeks ago to get to this point. 16 players battling it out. 2 new sets were released and 2 bans in this format. And it's taken us to this point here where we have got Mason versus Aya. I'm going to say they're 2 tier 1 decks. It made sense that they've got to the final. Both players have run all the way through, but the storyline that we need to find out, is it going to be the 2-time champion? Are we going to have a queen for season 1 and season 2? Let's find out as we get down to this match, the finals of MTGO Masters season 2. How's that tasting, Anu?
God, it's bad. Oh my goodness. It's just like, okay.
All right.
Anyways.
Here we are, the finals. 12 weeks led to this. Mason top of your screen, Aya at the bottom of your screen. Mason on the play with this powerful Goy's Avengers deck up against, we've seen it once tonight already, this powerful frog side in the hands of Arya. Who do we think's favored game 1?
Well, I'm going to tell you this much, right? I'm looking at a certain card, Cling to Dust, here in the hand for Arya, and that is a great card to have in your opener with the development of the modern format. Flage just being Flage. These are kind of the countermeasures that blue-black decks are picking up in the form of Cling to Dust. Guess what? Also very good against the Graveyard combo deck.
Here comes the powerful Psychic Frog. I believe I see the creator of Psychic Frog as well in your chat over there.
Ah, okay. Well, hello. Psychic Frog, honestly, is a card that I have, when I first saw it, I kind of just rolled my eyes and I was like, okay, what's this going to do? And then a day passed and I saw what it did. And then another day passed and then it did some more and more and more. This card is actually incredible. And honestly, I have never been more wrong about a card evaluation before.
Yeah, this card's pretty good, and we're seeing in the finals now in both decks of both players, so it's going to be interesting how that goes forward. I just want to let you know that the chat doesn't think that you had enough shorts, so you barely dipped it. It was barely in your mouth.
You want me to take another bite? Hello?
I'm just saying, if you could just keep tweeting out all the stages of the shorts and what they're in by the end of this match, that'd be great. And also, let's start a giveaway. I feel like this next giveaway is going to be a big one, ladies and gentlemen. I did promise you this. I said the more rigs that you put in chat, the more giveaways I will be having for you all. So, over on the main channel only. So that's Magic Online. Go to Twitch, type in Magic Online, go to that channel. In there is where you're going to want to type in the next word in the giveaway, because we're going to pick ourselves not one winner, not two winners, not even 5 winners. We're going to go for 10 winners in the main channel. 1 on Doomwakes, 1 on Dingoes, 1 on NZs, but the main thing on the main channel. So get across that channel, open it up, get in there and type the word shorts. The word is shorts. You're in with a chance of winning 120 play points, courtesy of our amazing sponsor, Daybreak Games. As we get back to the match, where we've seen some fatal pushes on some frogs. Some archaeologists finding some Fortsies.
Yeah, interesting that the Psychic Frog didn't actually discard a copy of Gristlebrand there. Makes me wonder, makes me feel a little nervous. But on Arya's side, here comes the frog. And one thing to note is that this is a big shields down moment. So the Dimir Murktide deck, right, is basically an evolution of the blue-black deck that players like Young Dingo used to play almost a year ago when modern Lord of the Rings first came out. This is in its core a very counterspell heavy deck, and this sign here just tapping out on turn 3 like this kind of, if I'm Mason, I'm definitely picking up on that.
Yeah, you don't get to the finals of this without just skimming over things and not picking up on these small minute details. How do you think do you think play draw is going to affect this, or is it just the fact that Aya's got one of the key cards in this matchup, in that Cling to Dust, in hand, ready to go?
Yeah, that card is actually just really, really good because, normally what would the Goryo's Vengeance deck do against this typical control deck? Well, you'd use your Thoughtseize effects. I mean, notably, you no longer have access to Grief, which is a big element for the Goryo's Vengeance decks, but you have your sort of discard-based disruption. The thing about Cling to Dust is that it just gets dumped into the graveyard where you can, guess what, still cast it. So this is going to be a little bit tricky for Mason. He's going to have to do a little bit of a dance of the dead, if you will, to sort of get his big creatures into play.
Shoot the Sheriff being drawn here for Aya. Love to see these Doomblade effects or Doomblade plus effects getting back in. Doomblade wouldn't be really good right now. There's too many good black creatures thrown around. But Shoot the Sheriff is what we're going to go with here. And now as we start using this Psychic Frog, exiling 3 cards from our graveyard to give it flying to be able to block the frog on the other side, we're going to see this Shoot the Sheriff get rid of the frog, so we will connect with it. We will go a card deeper. But in response to that, we see Mason discarding the Gristlebrand. So basically no value, but there's a lot of value of it being in that graveyard, right? It'll push drawn.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, too, whether or not this Harbinger of the Seas is actually going to have an impact in this matchup. I mean, it is the kind of card that, I look at it and I'm just okay, this might be, heavily teched for sort of Ugin's Labyrinth-style decks. This matchup, maybe it's one of the first cards that Arya actually just chucks to the sideboard here, but also, there are many, many times playing blue-white where I'm just oh, yeah, I've got 5 basics in my deck. Nope, just died at Bloodmoon.
Oh, dude, I have lost so much to Harbinger in the Seas. It is unreal. I play a lot of Boros. And I've got it ingrained in my head that Fatal Push is a card. Not Fatal Push, as we see Fatal Push come down there, taking out the priest. That, oh, cool, I'll just lightning bolt it. And then I would get the realization, like, oh, yeah, I can't do that. They're all islands. And I just get absolutely hosed by Harboring it all the time. It is a really good card, but we see both players here fetching up those basic swamps. They will have access to at least one black mana, and realistically, that's all they need for both these two decks to kind of function. It means just play our Flogs, play our Bowmasters, Cling to Dust here, 4 Caesars. We're never hard casting that Gristlebrand. I don't even know if there's enough lands in the deck to hard cast that Gristlebrand. Are there 8 actual untapped sources? Let's have a little look. Exclamation mark deck list in the chat to get all tonight's deck list and all the deck lists, of course, from the this season of MTGO Masters. Have a little look in there.
This is kind of crazy because I'm looking at like what sort of counter magic suite Arya has here to sort of set up the shields, and like you can see it's slowly coming together, right? We had the Cling to Dust, which is like it makes your hand like instantly you're just going to keep it, but there are the full 4 counter spells. There are 2 copies each of Spell Pierce and Spell Snare, and for one of, I guess there's Force Negation as well. I'm seeing 1 copy of Sink into Stupor, which is like not that great. At 1 Consigned to Memory, which has main deck consigned, is definitely the eyebrow raiser. Maybe it goes back to what I was saying, where this specific deck list is designed to take down, Eldrazi styled metagames.
Yeah, Aya for one knows like how she wants to set up. What she does a lot of research before she gets into the battles. Who can play what decks and stuff, because we had the stipulations. Once you played the 1 card, you can't play it again in the following week. So whatever players played last week in the top 8 match to get them here, those cards were turned off. And fun fact that I was the only person that brought the rings last week that managed to make it through to the top 4. And now 1 game away or match away from calling herself the back-to-back. And it's looking really good right now because I see double frogs on this battlefield.
Yeah, and funny enough too, just like even taking it down a further level, the only legendary target right now for Goryo's Vengeance is that copy of Gristlebrand that got discarded to Psychic Frog. Guess what's in play that is really, really, really good against a draw 7? Will, it's Orcish Bowmasters, 2 of them.
I found that out the hard way, by the way. I have 100% brought back a Gristlebrand, drew on 7 cards. My opponent in response flashes in the Bowmaster, and I just get absolutely annihilated.
Yeah, I mean, so much so that even like in Legacy, right? Like Show and Tell decks started playing Atraxa over Gristlebrand. Black-Red sometimes goes for Archon instead of like Gristlebrand's stock. Like it used to be the head honcho, and now.
Well, now we've got like Ulamogs as well. So like Ulamogs work really good with Ephemerates. Not seeing any Ulamogs in this list here for Mason, though. Has gone for the full 2 Gristlebrand for Atraxas, the big fatty boom booms, as he would say, in the deck.
Wait, this one's pretty over now. I guess you can.
Yeah, this is definitely over. This means that I is 1 game away from being the back-to-back. Is there nothing she can't do? She has not lost in 2 seasons so far. That's crazy.
She's actually won every single pod. You're absolutely right about that. And I mean, I guess with that kind of momentum, there's no silver scrapes here. This is just going to be a one and done. 1 more game, and Arya's going to walk away with not just 1 but 2 titles on MTGO Masters.
We're lucky that she works for Wizards and that she can't play in all these major events because she'd be unstoppable. You know what I mean? She should absolutely be on a crazy tear. This is huge. But is it going to happen? Mason's going to do his best. They were speaking. Mason did think Arya was favored game 1, but had the sideboard cards to be able to put it back in game 2 and game 3. So it's going to be interesting to see if that does pan out. We'll be on the play for game 2 and maybe game 3 if we can get there. He's going to have to try and break that serve one more time. But we have a little look in here of how it looks like both players are sideboarding. Interested to see what's coming in and out. It looks like that Gristlebrand will be getting trimmed because it doesn't line up well, as you said, against the Orcish Bowmaster. Anything else catching you off guard here? Any surprises?
No, I think so sometimes when I sideboard, I'm looking at just like I tend to do this a lot where I'll look at a card that just beat me and try to beat it. But I think Orcish Bowmasters is just so critical and like damaging, I guess, that specifically with the way Mason is boarding, I do like shaving on copies of Gristlebrand and Tainted Indulgence as potential weak points. Even Force Negation, I agree, is like it's not great in this matchup. You are definitely kind of like the beatdown. If we go to turn 50, I expect Arya to have a swath of counter spells that Mason's just not going to be able to get through. So I like to play proactively, force a negation, unless you're casting Goryo's Vengeance on the upkeep or the end step. Not really that great a protection spell.
So we see like the fatal push is kept in. That's obviously a respect to Psychic Frog, because there isn't really that many targets. I think there's 10 total in the deck, and realistically, you don't care about, like, let's say half of them as it is. But really paying respect on it, keeping those fatal pushes in. We see Cling to Dust in the grip as well. This looks like a really good keep over on Arya's side. Mason a little bit more complicated though.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at these hands here right now, Arya's on a mulligan to 6. Okay, I think that changes things a little bit.
I still like this. I still think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, the thing is that Mason's hand has the potential to just like absolutely get there. Right now, the game in its current state with the hands as they are is very balanced with Thoughtseize for a couple of these counter spells. This is actually, never mind, not funny. You know, even if you
Well, I'm saying, what do you take here? Like, do we stop the card draw? Do we stop the Cling that's going to stop our game plan? Or is it Harbinger? And, it looks like that's what Mason is going to be taking here off the turn 1 Thoughtseize. And, of course, it's not a Thoughtseize bug. It's just coincidence. Another Harbinger comes off the top of the deck.
I'm chuckling like Mason did during the player, the segment that doesn't have a name. That's where I'm chuckling just like that.
Gee, bless me. Remember, chat, type the word shorts in the main channel. Main channel only 10 giveaways, because this is the finals. We will be crowning a winner of this match and this season. Type the word shorts in all the 4 channels. But realistically, you want to be the best chance of winning. You need to go across to the main channel, Magic Online. Go in there, hit that follow button, type the word shorts, being with a chance of winning 120 play points in our final giveaway of this series.
Okay, Thoughtseize is going to be on the stack, taking another copy of Harbinger, which I like. I mean, clearly Mason is afraid of the Harbinger. I mean, I personally do not. It feels to me like that card shouldn't be that big of a deal here, especially when you're just like looking at, mana bases and things like that. But Mason chooses to disagree, which I will always defer to Mason as the better player. Now, the question is, why did we not take the Mystical Dispute? And maybe the thought process here is that he just doesn't care / has it covered with his own Mystical Dispute.
Yeah, I think the idea is that, I'll be able to fight back with my own Mystical Dispute. I understand why we're taking the Harbingers though. Like, we've only got 3 basics in the deck. Sure, that's where you look at it face up. But these Glorious Vengeance decks really do rely a lot on these Surveil lands. Okay, that's one of the advantages. This is one of the big winners for Surveil lands being printed into Modern or into Standard, which we're now using it in Modern with all these fetch lands. Is because we can literally just survey the top card of our library. If it's one of our big fatties, we put it in the graveyard, go a card deeper. It lets us sculpt the top of our deck. Now we've got the 3 lands that we need. Ideally, we could do with another blue source in this instance, but we've got all the mana that we can do moving forward. Now we've just got to try and turn this into a W and kind of slow down Arya. But in that face of we know about the Cling, we know about the Dispute. I don't think we know about the Frog, the Bowmaster, or now the Murktide that was just found.
Yeah, regardless, I think the way Mason's hand is lining up here, it actually seems like it's very good against what Arya is trying to do here, right? Like, I didn't actually imagine, but do you think Mason maybe like assumed that he was going to lean into some sort of more of a control role? That doesn't really make sense when you're playing against the 4 counter spell, 2 spell pierce, 2 spell snare deck. But like, there's so much creature removal here for Mason that any of the threats that Arya chooses to deploy there, I mean, they're just going to get blown to smithereens, or I guess exiled to smithereens.
Well, it looks like she's starting to pass the turn up with the mana open. So this is, this is going to hold up either the Mystical Dispute, the Cling to Dust, or even just an Orcish Bowmaster end of turn. Try and get some sort of reaction out of Mason so we can untap, play this huge Murktide or this Psychic Frog, because there's been no Thoughtseize effects on over on Arya's side. So just not aware of this Solitude, not aware of this Ephemerate on the other side. Just plays his land, passes the turn, Orcish Bowmaster at the end step. Mason's going to go down to 11.
Ooh, I wonder if, we're going to cast the Solitude here while the shields are down. Love this play. Tight, technical, talented. Any other word that starts with T? Terrific.
Hey.
Yeah, there we go.
Great minds think alike. Love to see it. So here it comes. Solitude's going to come down. Exile the Orcish Bowmaster. That's 1 life gained for Arya. Does mean that the Orcish Bowmaster's token, the Orca Mass, is going to get generated though. So that's why we see the 1/1 on the battlefield. Land drawn, and this is the turn I was thinking is interesting, right? Do you prioritize Frog over Murktide or Murktide over Frog? How do you want to go about this? And looks like we're gonna push out the Frog as Atraxas found, but definitely can't cast that one right now.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see on the top of the deck here. As the board state right now, it does still feel very close, and you kind of need just bangers, kind of like I'm not even sure. Like, what are the really good draws here for Mason, right? I mean, I guess getting one of your big creatures that you want to put into play is the first step. What would you say? Sorry,
I feel like it's a Psychic Frog, right? Like Psychic Frog gives us a threat, gives us a way to draw cards, gives us a way to get tracks in the graveyard. Because once one of these big creatures does resolve and does hit the battlefield, I think she's got one way of getting it back off the battlefield. I'm just having a look at the deck. We've got
I see Sink into Stupor,
shoot the Chef, go for the throat, and Sink Stupor. Like that's what, 3?
Not very many. Yeah,
that's
not
3.
enough. Yeah.
But we do have this Cling to Dust, remember? So it means we're going to have multiple either ways at instant speeds, multiple Goy's Vengeance to get out of the graveyard, or multiple creatures to get in the graveyard while the shields are potentially down. Force Negation, though, that's going to real help if that battle does come to fruition. And
this is lining up really well for Arya, right? You have Murktide. Well, actually, I don't know if it is.
Mystical Dispute's going to get in the way if we want to hardcast the Murktide here. Oh no, because then we can fight back, I suppose. 2 for that, 1 for that. We don't have the 3 mana up on Mason's side, but then it does have an Ephemerate, so can just exile it. Yeah, Arya will get a bunch of life, but more importantly, the one big threat is off the battlefield.
Yeah. I mean, I do agree here, right? You definitely want to push here because with the Solitude in play, like this is kind of how the game would slip out of your hands, with the life total increasing. There's the Ephemerate on. I love this. Okay, playing it end step to get around potential Force Negation.
Yep. Don't
know if that's intentional, but it's very good.
Oh, you only learn that the hard way, right? Like everyone realizes, oh yes, it's a no. You need to do the stuff at the end because if you aren't having it caught with Force, you feel really bad when that happens. Found an Archaeologist for the turn. That's pretty good. Yep. Importantly, go on, talk.
Did not Ephemerate the Solitude to get rid of the token. That's kind of interesting. Just valuing the life total, life gain more.
Well, our life total is quite low, right? And it is going to be a resource at the end of the day at some point. And the Orcamass token doing 1 point of damage doesn't counteract the 3 damage that we can not only gain but also deal. So I like that for over on Mason's side. Here comes the Frog. Are we gonna fight over this? No, we've got the Prismatic Ending for the turn, and we don't have too many targets for that. So being able to let that resolve, that's pretty good. But this Force on the other side, geez, both players drawing bangers at the minute.
Yeah, this is exactly what you need. Mason's like, you took game 1. I'm not going to let you get away with game 2. And honestly, this Mystical Dispute from Mason's side is absolutely carrying. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like, now Arya is forced to play into it, but the whole game, that looming threat, and finally you could see the impact of the punch. Like this is big.
So are we going to fire off this Cling on the no, we don't do it on the Atraxa because that just gains us life. We can't go card deeper. We're just going to have to let the Frog get exiled. Not saying this is looking good, but Mason seems to be in control of this matchup.
I'm saying it's looking good for Mason. This is great. Arya is next to nothing. You see how different. I do feel like these Dimir Murktide like blue-black specifically, right, is a very it's almost like snowball style deck. Where you cement one piece of counter magic or disruption, right, and that lets you untap and go to your threat plus counter magic / disruption. In this case, the threat is normally Psychic Frog, which then starts to snowball like card advantage. And in this case, because there was no Psychic Frog, because there were so many removal spells, Solitude, ending, Ephemerate on Solitude, the snowball wasn't there for Arya. And that's what's, I think, causing Mason to be in such a dominating position is that, Arya's getting sort of cut from under her legs and now has to hope to draw the right spell that answers the right threat.
Shields are down right now. We don't have enough cards to be able to exile. This Ephemerate twice with the rebound. Only finding us more Ephemerates. But yeah, we're scooping up because double Ephemerate means we can go into our deck even further. All we need is 1 Goyos. We know it will resolve. We're going to a game 3 here in our finals, Anu. Just how the script was.
Yeah. I still don't know if we're allowed to talk about the script, but
sorry about that.
Yeah, this is exciting. Attention. One more game. I mean, look, on one hand, on one hand, I love Mason, and I'm rooting for him to get his first win. But if Arya gets like two dubs, that would be so cool.
Look, just getting to the finals is like, back to back is incredible. But let alone being able to take this down, we see a little bit of sideballing here, just showing up a couple of extra cards over on both sides, which means it is the last chance that I am going to say right now. You need to go across the Magic Online's channel on Twitch. No matter where you're watching this from right now, if you're watching it on a different media, whatever, go across to Twitch right now. Type the words Magic Online in, all one word, in that search bar. When that channel comes up, if you see that little follow button and it's not ticked, well, you need to hit that follow button. That's the first step. And then secondly, you need to type the word shorts in that channel. If you type the word shorts in there, we're going to pick 10 winners. How many did I say, Anu?
I'm still in shock that you said 10. When we were talking about this, I thought you said 3. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then you just bust off the 10 giveaways that we're doing on the Magic Online channel only. You can still win on the other 3 channels, but the Magic Online channel is where you're going to go right now. Type in shorts to enter the giveaway and join maybe our biggest giveaway yet. And I didn't get a chance to see, did Mason end up cutting the second force negation for the Nile Spellbomb? Because that's like a last second swap that I kind of find interesting, maybe sort of acknowledging that force negation doesn't really vibe with the game plan that you're trying to execute in this matchup.
Yeah, well, we want to. I didn't see it myself either, but we kind of want to see if we can slow down the early Murktides, right? An early Murktide resolving is horrendous. Like, we need a few turns to be able to set up. And now that they've got Aya on the play here in game 3 with everything on the line, we need to be able to slow things down. And something like an early Spellbomb would be able to slow that down quite significantly going forward. But just passing the turn back, we actually have a Spellbomb on the other side for Aya, so that's something that Mason's going to have to try and play through. Does have the Prismatic ending in hand, though, but we see that there's a Spell Pierce sticking around. In fact, we have to Cling to Dust in all 3 games.
Yeah.
In that opener. How are we playing?
I see one in the main deck.
That's it. That's it. Okay, well, we've got a Thoughtseize as well, and that might be a good way of baiting out this Spell Pierce.
Yeah, I don't know how much I like jamming the Thoughtseize here, but you do have the Mystical Dispute. I think the Spell Pierce is a forced play here.
Oh, actually, with the Dispute, that is interesting. I kind of like doing it this way because now I've got I could go for the ending on the Spellbomb, but deciding against it.
Well, the problem with ending on Spellbomb is like it's never going to work, right? I don't think Arya's ever going to leave.
But that's
like,
fine.
Tap out. Okay. Oh,
like,
interesting.
If you get Spellbomb off the battlefield, that means our plan A is back on the table. It's not now we've got to fight for your hate.
Wait. Let's take 2 steps back here. Are we sure that Mason's plan A in these post-board games is the reanimation strategy?
No, I'm not sure at all.
Yeah, me neither, right? Because like if you look at how game 2 played out, this was just like I'm a blue-white deck and you've got a Cling to Dust in your hand, like ha 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 ha. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I feel like
we need to find some action, and we're not really finding it over on Aya side. We've got a lot of reaction going on. A few lands, a couple of fatal pushes, and this Cling. Cling can draw us a card if needs be, if we really get to those dire situations, as well as the Spellbomb. But Mason's just doing Mason's thing. Yeah, I'll just crack, end the turn, go get another Surveil land, try and get another big fairy in the graveyard, or maybe play at the top of my deck. I can untap. We can see Psychic Frog. We see Priest. And we like that card. It looks like it's staying on top. It was a Mystical Dispute.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Now, is this going to be... And this is going to let us line up being able to get our Frog on the battlefield, play around Mystical Dispute on the other side, but we've got multiple ways to deal with that with these fatal pushes. Also, the good art. I've just upgraded to these arts, the Assassin's Creed ones.
Ooh, okay. I personally prefer like original artworks. Oh, okay. All right, there's another fatal push. This not how I expected this matchup to play out. It seems like both players have assumed the control role here, with like literally neither playing have anything, and I don't know who actually executes better here.
Well, I think it's who can ever go over the top the quickest, right? Well, there's step 1 is getting something in the graveyard, but the flip side, this is going to force the nice Spellbomb. So what Mason really wants to find now is a Goyos or something like that. So in response to the Spellbomb being cracked, we can then get it out of the graveyard. Unfortunately for him, there is a Cling to Dust over an Arya's hand.
Yeah, I think actually one way or another, like even with the Nile Spellbound in play, like you don't have a choice. You have to bin the Atraxa here, right? Like there's no world where you try to
Oh,
draw
no,
it.
no.
Yeah,
No.
so
Not unless it's like the very last one that you have, but like this is a show of strength, right? Like that's a
okay.
show of strength.
Yeah,
Hey, here's those fatal pushes I was talking about. Look, we talk about them. All 4 of them are now seeing player on either side. 2 in the hand, 2 in the bin.
this is I don't know how I feel about this.
Another surveil land, but we've
I'm
got
looking at
access
these
to
fatal
cling now.
Yeah. I'm looking at these fatal pushes and I'm like, oh no, this is really bad. But like again, Mason's just playing control. He's got nothing proactive going on. So then I guess let's advance to the next step, right? What does each player want to draw to sort of push themselves into a better situation? And oddly enough, I feel like the most obvious card from both sides is Psychic Frog.
Now, this is interesting. Would you counter this? I think we're going to use the Cling to Dust from the graveyard, exiling the cards that we need to be able to exile a card from Mason's side. Do we go for card draw or do we go to get one of the Atraxa out of the graveyard? We're going for the card draw, targeting the Thoughtseize. And Harbinger was the draw.
You still have the Nile Spellbomb at all times, and it's not like the Cling to Dust is actually going anywhere. With the Bloodstained Mire, the actual Nile Spellbomb itself, and the card that you get off the Surveil, you'll be able to escape the Cling to Dust on the way back. So this is what I was talking about right earlier, where when you're playing from the blue-black side, you really want to find ways to snowball your card quantity, because sometimes your card quality isn't quite there. If you draw like a Spell Snare, and then they have like a 1-mana spell or something like those kind of situations, right? But if you have all the cards, you're good to go. So this is... I love this. Just draw more cards, get more resources, and
I was interested if this was going to be the line that Mason was going to take. Are we going to basically 2 for 1 ourselves there, or will we tap out Aya, let the Frog resolve, and then just use this prismatic ending that we have in hand to deal with the Frog? Decides against it though, but that means if Aya draws another land, it can play that Harbinger with mana up to pay for the last Mystical Dispute, and Mason's side of the battlefield is... Oh, we're going for it. We're saying you need to crack this spell bomb and crack it now without the value of drawing the extra card.
yeah, I like it.
But shields are down. This Harbinger is going to come down.
I don't think Mason really has the bandwidth to really play around that card. And I mean, like with the way the matchup is generally supposed to play, like I like this. You're extracting value where you can, but here comes the slam. And I mean, look, all I'm saying is 7 turns is not as short as you think, or as long as you think. I think it's going to be done.
Goyo's off the top. If we waited another turn, we would have had some sort of shenanigans that could have happened. But having to pass the turn back, we do have outs like Solitude would be good here. A White Source, the basic planes would be good here.
How about Gristlebrand?
Not ideal. Well, look, hear me out. We draw the Swamp. We get max hand size. We discard the Gristlebrand. It could happen. Are we going to see Harbinger take this down? The finals, 12 weeks of Magic to this point. Is it all going to be done and won by a simple 2/2 Grizzly Bear?
Oh man, Mason's deck is starting to peter out. We had a couple insane heaters off the top here earlier this game and in the last one. This is the downside. Sometimes you just draw the one of Gristlebrand. Sometimes you draw the extra copy of Atraxa.
Psychic Frog's a good one, though. That's going to be able to add the clock to it.
Oh, that's actually just going to be lethal if we don't find something right now.
That is good. What do we find right now? It's got to be White Source, right? Or Solitude? Solitude. It's just a basic planes. I think we've got a back-to-back on our hands, Anu.
No, wait. Okay, well, here's the question, though. One does not simply discard their entire hand to a Psychic. I mean, maybe you do, but that is a big risk, right? Like, do you think Arya's actually just going to go for it here? 2 plus 4, 5?
What are we playing around? We're playing around Solitude, right? And like, why would we have not Solitude last turn? That means is this turn to draw it or not? Do you want to give Mason more chances to do it, or do you want to play round the fact that he's got it? We can discard to what? We can. In fact, we can discard a bunch of cards and hold up this stun schooling, which doesn't even play around it.
That's one.
We've got the counter magic for it. I think we've got this. I think we've got a back-to-back. Oh, okay. Playing it safe. Not that I know if there's an out here or not, but
it's interesting too because we have the Stern Scolding, which counters the Solitude as well. So maybe the situation is just too good for you where you can't lose. So
I don't know what it's got to be, but it's got to be an amazing top deck here. Maybe something we're not thinking about. Card is Don't Keep Us in Suspense. Oh my god!
Okay. Mason's hand is updating soon, but there is the Stern Scolding for the Solitude that Mason top decked at the very last second.
Oh my word! And it's we got the mana up, we got the mana and the counter magic up needed to do it. I think we've got a little bit of stalling on the hands here, but we drew the card we needed. But the answer was there in hand for Arya. Unless the hands are different to what we're seeing,
I think this is it. This has to be it.
I think we're moments away. Just that. Okay, I think that's it. I think the game we might have just broke Modo on that last time because it was so crazy.
How tense it was? Yeah, man. Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, on that one, we've now got a back-to-back. I is too strong. Has not lost one game yet. Pods back-to-back seasons now, let alone pods. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, think about like the level of competition that you've got in this event, right? Like this season alone, we had 2 Hall of Famers. We had some of the best creators out there who basically just play Modern every day for hours on end. And I mean, Arya's just like, whatever. It's just another walk through the park, another day in the office. Nice, cool accolades you got there. I'm the 2-time. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. Back to back.
We need to be thanking Wizards that we keep a chain. It's just, you design the cards and test them that way. We can't let you out with these mortals out here. We wouldn't have an absolute chance. But like just in itself, no matter what stage you are, just being able to run it back to back is such a huge accomplishment in any tournament. And I know we were joking at the start of this of tonight, but genuinely we've got Pro Tour champions, we've got world champions, we've got the top content creators from all around Magic in this event. Yet Arya's able to go back to back and take this down and doing it with Psychic Frog. Let's say we had Psychic Frog in the finals of both decks. Is that because that card's too powerful? Is that the card that everyone sat on that wanted to play? We were talking about the Ring being the most powerful card. Is it actually Psychic Frog in the background? Is that the card that everyone wanted to play in the finals?
Yeah, tough question here because, like with the stipulations that we had, Arya wasn't able to actually play the One Ring this week due to playing it last week in the Amulet Titan deck. So, a lot of questions to ask here. What I know for sure is that Psychic Frog is definitely a contender there. It is, if you're looking to win, you just register 4 of those cards and you have a very good chance. In terms of the rest of the broadcast, though, we've got a winner's interview coming up very soon, and then we will be closing out. Now, here's one thing to remember. We have 10 codes that we're going to be giving away on the Magic Online channel. So please, if you're watching this on my channel or Dingo's channel or Doomwake's channel, go to the Magic Online channel and type in shorts. That's the keyword to be one lucky winner of 10 giveaways. That's over 1,000 play points. Jeez.
I hope I don't get in trouble for that. Like, I mean, I hope I don't get in trouble. You were like, let's do 3. And we escalated from 3. And I was like, yeah, I heard 10. Let's just do 10. Let's do 10 sounds like a good number. Everyone's supported us so far to this point, and hopefully they've enjoyed the show up to this point. So, I want to give back to you, and I want to reward you all for being here. But, of course, you've got to go across the Magic Online channel for that. Type the word shorts. You can see the shorts in the background there for a new. Hold them up for us, mate. Let's have a little look. How much munching did you get on through that?
I did not put this thing into my mouth. I ate this much. And that was good enough for me. So I say we take a quick break and then we'll be back with the winner's interview. Don't forget, type shorts in the chat to enter the giveaway. We'll see you all in just a second.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. I am joined by the two-time champion now. Aya, you've done it again. Like, can you give everyone else a chance? What's going on? How does it feel to be the two-time champion of MTGO Masters?
It feels pretty good.
I imagine it feels pretty good. It's an achievement in itself. We had 12 weeks of Magic, 2 new sets, 2 bans as well, and you beat world champions, Pro Tour champions, Hall of Famers, some of the best in the business, and you are here right now with one more avatar to your name and another, virtual trophy. You get to walk around the office kind of doing the even bigger humble brags than you were able to do last season. You get invited back for next season, which we want to have you back because we want to see if anyone in the world can actually beat you. That would be ideal. But what was your highlight of playing in this season too?
I mean, it's got to be the finals against Mason. I mean, I really like Mason, close friend. So like last season, I got to play in the finals against Scarman, which was like dream come true. And this season, I mean, if there was anyone I could have picked to have played against in the finals, was Mason. So pretty happy to get to do that. And the match was a lot of fun because this is not a deck in which I had a lot of experience. Things have been like a little bit busy on the work side, so I wasn't able to like do as much prep this week as I normally do. So like match one, really straightforward. I had a really strong hand and like won with it. Match two, I feel like I got pretty outplayed because I didn't really understand what was happening in the matchup. Like I hadn't played the matchup that much, hadn't watched the matchup that much. But yeah, game three, getting to like figure out on the fly like what the matchup was about, adjust my sideboarding, and like come in with a game plan. Like that's some of my favorite stuff to do in Magic. Like the whole pivoting based on like things you're realizing in match and figuring out what the right approach to a matchup is midway through. That's one of my favorite things. And so getting to do that in the finals of this event was sweet as hell.
That's like a different level of skill as well. Like everyone tries to pilot their decks, but being able to adapt on the fly and know when to change corners, or how to read the match of what you need to do in what situations. Having Cling to Dust in your opening hand against a graveyard deck in all 3 games has also got to feel pretty good. Everyone's gonna start thinking we really are actually rigging these finals. So my last question before I let you shoot off is, what was your favorite deck to play throughout this whole season? I think I know the answer, but I'm going to make you say it out loud.
It's got to be Amulet Titan. I mean, it's one of my favorite decks in Magic, period. And yeah, getting to play it in a tournament like this was really good. A lot of fun. I mean, I don't know part of like the whole reason this tournament is so like appealing to me is I don't get to compete normally. Like WotC staff with folks on play design are not allowed to like play in the Pro Tour on the RC like any other large tournaments. And so being able to play a deck I really enjoy and have it be competitive at that is just like never not going to be fun. So as long as Amulet remains viable to bring, I'm going to bring it sometime or the other every time.
I'm going to add to that question because there's multiple different types of Amulet builds. Now we've seen you pilot, I think, 4 different builds maybe over the course of 2 seasons. Have you got a favorite of those 4 builds of Amulet? If you were going to play next week, we're in an RC season at the minute that's modern. Which deck would you recommend of Amulet Titan for everybody?
I think the Aftermath Analyst decks at this point are the strongest one. I brought something like that last season, but at that time it was just kind of a brew I came up with after talking with the friend. Wasn't like a particularly strong deck. And now I think the Aftermath, with the release of Shifting Woodlands, I think Aftermath Analyst is actually just the strongest way to go with Amulet. And so yeah, I'd recommend bringing that to a tournament if you needed something to bring.
All right. Well, on that one, if you want to shout out anybody, any support, anyone that's helped you in the office, anyone that's helped you get to this point, this is the time you need to do it before we start closing down the show.
Well, I mean, Ray CFT helped me a bit in early weeks for deck selection. I generally like to bounce off ideas off them, so that was pretty helpful. I bounce ideas off Carmen, of course, but mostly the plug I want to do is Duskmon, which is coming out this week. There's pre-release this week. It is the first set team I was on, so I wasn't just doing play design work. I actually designed a lot of the cards. And yeah, so if there's one thing I can get you all to do is go out and play Duskmon. Because first set team I'm on, I'm a massive fan of the set. Jules, the set lead, one of the best designers I've ever worked with. I think the set's an absolute banger. So that's the thing I'd like to plug. Go play Duskmon. It's great.
Okay, just one more question. I promise I'll let you go after this. What's my pack one, pick one? What am I hoping to open in Duskmon?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'd say one of the overlords, probably. Either the white one or the black one are both really, really strong and limited. So Yeah, one of those.
There we go. Everyone watching right now has got one up on the competition that's not watching. We know what to be picking. Right, congratulations. Back to back. Such an achievement. We'll see you next season. Get the chat going off. Let's get the hype going in all 4 channels. That is our champion. Aya, congrats. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. We'll see you next time as we move back to the booth with me and Anu. I don't think it's fair. Like, we need to write a new script. Like, we genuinely need to write a new script.
I was thinking, like, you ever imagine just being that good at Magic?
No, I don't.
Couldn't be me. You know what I mean? I just like my jaw just drops, and I'm just like, some of these players are so good. And honestly, it's ecstatic to see the course of the journey, like throughout the entire season, like this narrative that like I can't lose even if I wanted to is just so badass. Like I think there's just no other way about it, right? So congratulations once again to Arya Karamchandani. You know,
you got to think, right?
Surprised.
Like season 1, we give them kind of free will on whatever decks they can play decks back to back. This season we put Stipulation on. We made them brew. We made them think about their decks. We even cut cards off from them for multiple weeks to make them come at different angles with decks that they're not familiar with, something out of their comfort zone. And yet still back to back. It's absolutely nuts. It's crazy. I think it's such a huge accomplishment. It's gonna be really cool. To me, is it too early to say free time? Is it too early to say free time?
Look. I'm not saying nothing, but I will say that this has been a very exciting 12 weeks here. First and foremost, we're going to do our final wrap up before we close down. And that means that everybody, we're going to be giving away like way too many giveaways. Sure, it's more work for me, but I love it. If you guys can enjoy. Before we do that, you go to Magic Online, the Twitch channel, and type the word shorts, right? That's what Will normally
That's all
says.
they need to do. That's all they need to do. Go to Twitch, type the word shorts in the Magic Online channel. 10 giveaways happening right there. We'll be giving 120 points to every single person that wins. There's also one giveaway in Dooms, one giveaway in Dingoes, one giveaway in yourselves. And we hope you're all enjoying it. And, you're going to stick around because we're going to pick those winners after this ad read. Because we have some sponsors of this amazing show that we hope you've all enjoyed over the past 12 weeks. And the first one is Anu.
Daybreak Games. So right now, if everybody who is watching could just take a quick moment to say thank you to the staff at Daybreak Games who work on the Magic Online team that work really hard to bring this kind of content for you, that are constantly working to bring amazing events and opportunities your way, you as the player who just wants to play more Magic. They're the people that make it happen. So first and foremost, if you're going to be in MagicCon Vegas, this is the final week where you can queue for the MagicCon Magic Online Vintage Cube Live powered by Ultimate Guard. The Feeder League opens up again September 21st. That's this Saturday at 9 a.m. PT. If you're looking for more information, always check mtgo.com to learn about the structure. They've put a lot of energy and effort into making this one of the coolest events that's going to happen at MagicCon, and I know for a fact it's going to be there. I'm going to be there, and hopefully I'll be able to see you as I'm watching the draft happen. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. But that's not all they have. If you're looking to play some cool formats, the flashback drafts are live now on Magic Online. It's going to be Modern Horizons 2, an amazing draft format that you can play until next Tuesday, September 24th. I've honestly, this is a great draft set. Please have fun.
Yeah, it really is. It really is a good one.
For the people that are entering the giveaway right now, you can actually use the points that you're getting to play in this. And that's pretty cool. You also can use the points that you win to play in Vintage Cube, which is live right now as well. Honestly, I'm personally happy that we just have not changed the graphic for this at all. Because, I mean, this is the last time, Jack Rabbit, you and I will be on the stream together. But I really want to say thank you, Jack Rabbit, for all the work that you do. Vintage Cube is going to be live until the 24th. Single Elam queues are available. Have some fun, everybody. And yeah, thank you, Daybreak Games, for bringing us an incredible, incredible season.
Yeah, he's literally been carrying the whole season. Look how strong that man looks. Well, the rabbit looks, shall we say. Is a big old rabbit. But our next sponsor is Moxfield. We have to give a huge shout out to them sponsoring the whole season. This is the only place, and exclusively the only place, that you'll be able to find all the deck lists from this season, past seasons, and potentially future seasons as well. Everything on there, we're working with them. We're going to do, when we do some more cool giveaways, like work out what this deck is in the background and who played it and what week. I really like that, what we did last week. So huge shout out to Moxfield. It is the best place to upload not only your deck list to, if you want to load it somewhere, show your friends, tweet it out, whatever you need to do. This is a great place to upload it, but it's also a good way to find from all recent events. So it gets updated continuously. There's so many events happening every single day in Magic the Gathering. This is the place to go find all those top deck lists to get one little tiny advantage when you go to your next FNM, your next RC, or maybe your next Pro Tour. So huge shout out to Marksfield for sponsoring Season 2. And our last sponsor, Nick.
Our last sponsor, they've been with us for both seasons as well. It's Heavy Play. If you're looking to one-up your card game accessories, this is the place to go. I will personally say, again, I am a big fan of supporting the companies that support the content that you enjoy watching. Heavy Play is a supporter. They've got amazing products, from RFG deck box to the RNG dice tray to the equip bag system that glues everything together to the ETB playmat. I mean, even the names are badass. Like, I've used that word twice because that just kind of embodies everything that we're working on. And 10% off the code with the code MTGO Masters at heavyplay.com. You can shop now. Thank you.
Huge thank you to them. Okay. Well, this is normally where we talk about future shows, but we don't have one coming up now. This is week 12. This is the end of the season. We have a champion now, but maybe people have just watched tonight. Maybe they only caught the end of today or the start of it. Where can people go watch all of this season if they need to go watch any of it back?
To YouTube we go. youtube.com/@officialmagiconline is where you're going to find every single week of this season's shows. They're all on YouTube right now, so you can catch all the action if you want to go back and see what the no ban list modern decks look like and how crazy like Oops All Spell is when they can win on turn 2. Like, I mean, it's there. It's there for you. This week's episodes are going to go live Friday. We've also got the rebroadcast that's going to be at 10 a.m. Pacific on Friday. So don't worry. All of this content is going to be available for you to consume. Be sure to check it out. youtube.com/@officialmagiconline.
Yeah, it's a lot of work has happened to put this season on. In fact, every season, but also a lot of support. So we hope you enjoy it and continue to enjoy it moving forward, because we started this season just as MH3 came out, which, by the way, is insane. Right? Like 12 weeks ago, Modern Horizons 3 came out. It feels like it's been out forever at this point. You know what I mean? We've had Pro Tours of it. We've had so many weeks of it here. We've had the bans, where we had the Nardu menace for so long, and then we've now got rid of it. We got rid of it quite early. We're kind of trendsetters in that aspect. But, being able to speculate on how different decks would brew moving forward, and it all happened on this show every single week because of our amazing 16 players. So that's the first people I need to, thank for taking part in this, taking time out of their day to make this show so amazing. So we've got Doom, we've got Ali, we've got Jim, we've got Rebel, Dingo, Seth, Andreas, Ben, Martin, Canister, Nathan, Caleb, who else do we have there? Alex, Aya, Arnie, and Mason, like all 16 players, taking time out of their day to put on amazing shows, brew these different decks, test these different decks, work out what they can and can't play. Working with us and being an absolute delight to work with is the other one. There was no divas, thank goodness. It makes my life a lot easier. Just going back and forth, asking the right questions. A huge shout out to them for being and taking part and being this amazing show that we had. Double shout out to Aya for being the back-to-back, because I still don't know if we could have wrote that any better. That was that in itself is just such a cool accomplishment. We need to thank our producer, who I thank every single week, and I still don't think gets enough credit for what he does. Jordan works in the background. No one gets to see him. He's a silent assassin, but he pulls all the strings, Asia, and everything from the different scenes to the changes to the videos. There's so much behind the scenes that you all don't see, and it's just one person. Normally, this is a huge team. If you ever see behind the scenes of any other production like the Pro Tour, it's about 100 people. We've got one, and he does the job of all of them. He does it so well. So Jordan, from me and Anu, huge shout out to you all, to you for doing it. So he was saying something in my ear there, chat. So huge shout out to you, my friend. You've done a stellar job, and I can't emphasize how much we appreciate what you do. I need to thank chat for being here every single week. I need to thank Dingo and Doom as well for co-streaming. When they weren't playing in it, they were co-streaming it. So not only if you enjoy it just from our side of view, from the player's point of view, but you can also see it from their point of view. And I hang out in their chats as well in between streams. I have a little bit of back and forth with them all. And, I'm not happy with the disrespect of Infex, but it's fine. I still love both of them just as much. They're awesome, and they're two of the best streamers that we currently have in Magic. They're amazing. So please, if you don't follow them already, you really should, because they are amazing. A huge shout out to them and you, chat, for being amazing, making this what it should be. And then the last one is you, Anu. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it takes more than one to tango here. Like, you do so much behind the scenes, even more that people don't know what you do. Like, you do so much more. You deal with all the hissy fits that I throw. I'm a right little diva behind the scenes. You eat shorts when we want you to eat shorts. You are so dedicated to this show, this cause, and putting on the best content for everybody at home, myself included. We are indebted to you, my friend. If it wasn't for your insight and your hard work and your drive, it wouldn't inspire me to go harder and drive more and put on the best show that I possibly can. So huge shout out to you, my friend. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I cannot wait for us to be able to celebrate this in Vegas in a couple of months, because it's amazing. It's just amazing. There's no other word for it, my friend. So thank you to you. And I'm going to leave it to you to have the final words of season 2 and close us out.
Well, right back to you, Will. Thank you for all the hard work. And honestly, it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. I think we've had a lot of cool developments from this season and the last one. So really fun. If anyone actually ever has any feedback on like what you enjoyed about the season, what you'd like to see more of, feel free to reach out to us. We'll always do our best to make great content. And on that note, it is time. It's time to pull all the winners for the giveaway. So type shorts in the chat. On Dingo's channel, on Doomwake's channel, on my channel, also on the Magic Online channel. We're gonna pull out 10 winners, and Will, you always do the countdown, so I'm gonna let you handle this one.
I'm gonna count down from 10. I'm gonna make them wait, so everyone has to type the word shorts in chat, because when I've got no more fingers held up, that's when we're gonna start picking it. 10 different winners are going to win 120 play points, courtesy of Daybreak Games, to close the season down here. MTGO Masters Season 2. Pick me some winners, Anu. And on that one, from me, from the team, from everybody else, we want to say thank you and good night.